Chapter 280. Lin Mi looked at the domineering Jiang Xiao and couldn't calm down for a long time. She actually wanted to settle the score with him? He was Jiang Luoxia, the #1 martial artist in China. He had personally witnessed the annihilation of the famous Ji clan. That was fine. After all, the ancestor of the Ji clan, Ji Wudao, had been killed by him. If one didn't remove the roots, they would grow back again. However, he could have let the little sword master go. The little sword master was Si Wuxia's son. If he killed his son, wouldn't he have offended Si Wuxia? Si Wuxia was much more powerful than Ji Wudao. He was the representative of China's Wudao, a legend of the current generation. However, he killed him without hesitation. That was so domineering that it made one's hair stand on end. This person's bravery was amazing. Even the Lin clan had to be wary of him. However, on second thought, so what if Jiang Xiao was strong? What he did couldn't be exposed. If he could do it openly, Jiang Luoxia would have been famous in China. It was a peaceful era now. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't be stronger than the country or the law. Many people like Jiang Luoxia liked to label him as a martial artist. To put it bluntly, he was like the Jiang Huan novels. He didn't care about the law and couldn't be seen in public. Jiang Xiao stood there for a long time, deep in thought. According to his experience, if the Holy Maiden died, the alternate world would continue to descend. If the Holy Maiden didn't die, she should return to her original world. Then the alternate world wouldn't descend. But no matter what the result was, Xieting was dead. Jiang Xiao dug a hole at the highest point of the mountain where the Ji clan was and buried Xieting's burnt body. On it was written, Xieting's grave, erected by Jiang Xiao. With the Ji clan buried with you, you can rest in peace. Jiang Xiao was ready to go down the mountain after dealing with the matter. Mu Jianping called out, Mr. Jiang. He was very uneasy. After all, he had offended Jiang Xiao this time. Originally, he had asked Jiang Xiao for help, but in the end he couldn't wait and went to the Sword Palace of the West Shu Sword Palace. As a result, the two sides had a conflict. Jiang Xiao said, Look for the Wang family. After saying that, he went down the mountain. He didn't like to care about these trivial matters, and was annoyed by them. Bang! Mu Jianping was overjoyed when he heard that. Mr. Jiang did not blame him, and the Ji family had been dealt with. The nightmarish days were finally over. Farewell, Mr. Jiang. Logically speaking, Mu Jianping should hold a big banquet, but with Jiang Xiao's status, how could he care about his gratitude banquet? He didn't even have the qualifications to report to him, let alone invite him to a banquet and drink with him at the same table. Jiang Xiao said, You're still following me. Do you still want to seek justice for your brother? Lin Mi moved her lips. After her trembling lips felt a little better, she said, I didn't expect you to be Jiang Luoxia, but so what? You're wrong for injuring my brother. Jiang Xiao said, Then I'll go kill him now. Lin Mi was shocked. You. This person was ruthless and murderous. She had seen it just now. Killing was really nothing in his eyes. Perhaps he would really do it. Don't forget, your mother and my father are siblings. We're relatives. Can you do it? Jiang Xiao laughed out loud. Even a few years of Buddhism could make the decision to become a monk. Jiang Xiao had been cultivating for 3,000 years. He had experienced so much righteousness, so much blood, and so many unforgettable betrayals and deceptions. He had already seen through the ruthlessness of the great Tao. How could he be so naive as to think that he could bind him with blood ties? Do you know how the Jiang family disappeared? Lin Mi's eyes widened. She looked in horror at Jiang Xiao, who had already returned to his normal appearance. She couldn't believe it. Her eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Listen to me carefully. My real family is only my parents. Lin Mi's bulging eyes gradually returned to normal. Ordinary people would find it hard to understand, but as a member of a wealthy family, Lin Mi quickly thought things through. Wasn't there a lot of things like this in the ancient Wang family? The most famous was the Xuanwu Gate incident. Moreover, other than the so-called genetic relationship, Jiang Xiao and the Jiang family didn't have any feelings at all. They had already cut off all contact. What Lin Mi didn't know was that Jiang Yi's imprisonment was all because of Jiang Yishan. Jiang Xiao didn't have any feelings for the Jiang family, But he also had feelings for the Lin family. His aunt Lin Yueling had also been kicked out of the Lin family and hadn't returned for 20 years. Recently, he heard that his aunt was going to come back. He didn't know if it was because Jiang Xiu was Jiang Luoxia. However, according to Jiang Xiu's temper, would the Lin family be able to take advantage of this? However, his younger brother was definitely going to suffer in silence. He had to go back and tell his family about it. Jiang Xiu was surprised. "You're still going to follow me?" Lin Mi said. "If I don't go back with you, do you want me to go back by myself? Anyway, I'm going back to the capital. It's on the way." Although her tone was still arrogant, it was obvious that she didn't have enough confidence. Jiang Xiu said, "I'm not going back to the capital. I'm going to Pinghai." He wanted to go to the Xie family and bring back Xie Ting's ashes. This time, Jiang Xiu had failed to live up to his expectations. He felt very guilty. Don't think that spiritual cultivation was only domineering and tyrannical. He was a very complicated person. "You're going to go back to the capital in the end, right?" Jiang Xiu said. "Up to you." He only used a few sentences to tell Wang Xintong about his trip to the Ji family. He told her to arrange things in Huabei and arrange a plane to Pinghai. When Xie Sanxian received his daughter's ashes from Jiang Xiu, he was already on the verge of collapse. He only had one daughter. How could he bear it? His wife, on the other hand, went into shock on the spot when she heard the news. Jiang Xiu said, "I've already buried the Ji clan with her." Xie Sanxian wept bitterly and shook his head. To him, so what if the Ji clan was buried with her? His daughter wouldn't come back. He would rather his daughter be safe and sound. Jiang Xiu said, "Before this happened, did Xie Ting say anything to you?" Xie Sanxian was silent for a moment. In the end he shook his head. Jiang Xiu asked because Xie Sanxian was a cautious person. Now that Xie Ting was dead, he hoped that Xie Sanxian would tell him everything. However, it seemed that Xie Ting really didn't have any backup plans. That day, the Xie clan began to prepare for her funeral. Although the Xie clan's ancestors had entered China to take revenge on the Ming dynasty, after 500 years, they had already taken root in Pinghai. They were like ordinary rich people in Pinghai. Many of their friends and relatives came. Jiang Xiu, for the first time, stayed at the Xie clan for half a day. It could be said that he had done his best. From this, it could be seen that deep down, Jiang Xiu treated Xie Ting as a friend. That night, Jiang Xiu took a plane back to the capital. Lin Mi immediately went to the hospital. Lin Shiqian was still lying on the bed. It had been almost 24 hours since the operation. It wasn't as painful as it had been after the anesthesia. However, he still cried out incessantly. Mother Lin felt as if her heart was being stabbed by a knife. She wanted nothing more than to suffer for her son's sake. That bastard, he was so cruel. "Sooner or later, I'll break your legs and let you have a taste of it." Lin Zikong said, "You should stop talking." The beautiful woman said with grief and indignation, "Why don't you let me talk?" Lin Zikong said helplessly, "You'll only make your son angry if you say that. You see, Mimi hasn't been around all day. Maybe she went to find Jiang Xiu to settle accounts." As they were talking, Lin Mi pushed open the door and walked in. "Dad, Mom." Lin Shiqian, who was still groaning on the bed, suddenly became alert. His eyes lit up as he waited for his sister to bring good news. They were only 1 year apart in age, and had a good relationship. He knew his sister's temper very well. She would never let him be bullied. "Sister, how is it?" Lin Mi said. "What do you mean, how is it?" Lin Shiqian said. "You ran out angrily. Didn't you go to find Jiang Xiu to settle accounts?" Lin Mi said. "What are you thinking? You did it yourself, right? Why would I go find him to settle accounts?" When she said this, she wailed in her heart. "Brother, let's just forget about this matter. Just treat it as being bitten by that thing." Not only was Lin Shiqian disappointed, but the beautiful woman was also quite disappointed. Lin Mi said, "Dad, come out for a moment." Lin Shikong saw that Lin Mi didn't rashly go find Jiang Xiu to settle accounts. He was relieved. His family had told him that if his daughter did something stupid, he would have to clean up the mess in the end. However, he was also secretly very unwilling in his heart. "Why did you call Dad out?" Lin Mi looked at her father and said, "Dad, Do you know Jiang Xiu's real identity? Real identity? Lin Shikong said. What kind of real identity can he have? He's just your aunt's son. Your family might want your aunt to come back, so they suppressed your brother's matter. Lin Mi was now almost convinced that her father didn't know. Her eyes showed a dignified expression. Dad, Jiang Xiu is Jiang Luoxia. Chapter 281. Jiang Luoxia? Which Jiang Luoxia? Lin Zikong was confused. What did she mean by Jiang Xiu's real identity? Jiang Xiu was Jiang Luoxia. However, his expression gradually changed. His eyes were filled with shock. What did you say? Although the official career was very far away from the martial arts world, the Lin family had their eyes on Jiangnan, a rich place. The local big shots would naturally go and find out. Among them, there was a Mr. Jiang in Jiangnan's underworld. He seemed to be called Jiang Luoxia. Lin Mi said, Jiang Xiu is Jiangnan's Mr. Jiang. Boom! Lin Zikong's brain seemed to explode. What did it mean to be Jiangnan's Mr. Jiang? This person could make Jiangnan tremble with a single move. He could easily pry open the entire economy of Jiangnan. Are you sure? Lin Mi shook her head. She also wanted to be wrong, but she had seen Jiang Xiu become a god with her own eyes. She had seen him dominate the world and slaughter the Ji family's young sword master. She could not avenge her brother's death. That's great, Lin Zikong said happily. Great? Lin Mi's eyes widened. She wondered if her father was joking. Of course. Don't forget that he is your aunt's son, which means he is my nephew. Don't you know the Lin family's situation these years? Your second uncle is competing for the Jiangnan frontier. He originally wanted to rely on the relationship between Gu Shu and Jiang Yi. It turns out that the real key is Jiang Xiu. Lin Zikong said excitedly. This matter is settled. Lin Mi could only smile bitterly. She felt helpless. What is it? Lin Zikong said. You're still brooding over what happened to your brother. Jiang Xiu did go a little overboard, but if he's Mr. Jiang, it's nothing. With his status in Jiangnan and his influence in front of Gu Shu, your second uncle has an 80 to 90% chance of getting him. Breaking a leg is nothing. Lin Mi said helplessly. Dad, you don't know Jiang Xiu at all. Lin Zikong said, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future to slowly understand each other. After that, he patted Lin Mi's shoulder, seemingly very satisfied that Lin Mi could bring such news. Lin Mi could only shake her head. The news quickly spread in the Lin family. Lin Yueling, who used to be a taboo in the Lin family, kept appearing. The discussion about Jiang Luoxia in the Lin family began to increase. On the day he returned home, Jiang Xiu saw that Cheng Lingsu had bought a computer for him. The originally useless study room was put to use. She also prepared a lot of books. It looked like she was going to do something big. 100 million yuan had already been transferred to her account. She had the idea of entering the financial market since the first day she went to college. She had been eyeing it for a long time. As soon as she received the money, she entered the market. This was only her first step. She planned to rent an office, take care of some traders, and open a financial company. She was going to walk the path of a perfect, rich, and beautiful woman. In a dark corner, an evil smile appeared on a face that couldn't be seen clearly. She didn't know that she would go on the road of despair and lose everything she bought until she lost the last 100 million yuan. Seeing Cheng Lingsu's longing face, his desire to destroy her became stronger. He really hoped that 3 years would pass sooner. When the lanterns were lit, Jiang Xiu came to the side of the pond. The lights in the opposite building were dim. He thought that Wang Xintong must have gone to Huabei to collect the results of this battle. Then he took out a mobile phone and sent a message to Nangong Ko. Are you free tonight? 3 to 5 minutes passed, but there was no reply. Jiang Xiu knew that Nangong Ko wouldn't reply to his message. Women were really strange sometimes. They didn't mean what they said, and they didn't mean what they said. Speaking of which, the spiritual cultivation really felt that if someone pulled up his pants, he wouldn't admit it. Unexpectedly, half an hour later, Nangong Ko replied, after 9 o'clock. Jiang Xiu thought for a while, then sent a message. Imperial Capital Hotel? The Jinjin Group had a 5-star hotel in the Imperial Capital, and it was in a good location. It was one of the best hotels in the imperial capital. However, he didn't want anyone to know about his meeting with Nangong Ko, including Wang Xintong. After this message, Nangong Ko, took more than 10 minutes to reply. She must be struggling in her heart. Don't let anyone see. Jiang Xiu, be careful. Nangong Ko, okay. How could this be called pulling up his pants and not admitting it? This is clearly an adulterous affair. Jiang Xiu arrived at the Imperial Capital Hotel 20 minutes before the scheduled time. After checking into the room, he sent a message to Nangong Ko. At 9 o'clock sharp, the doorbell of the room rang. Jiang Xiu went to open the door and saw Nangong Ko fully dressed. After confirming that it was Jiang Xiu, she hurriedly went in. It was very cold in the imperial capital in December, but it shouldn't be so cold. Wearing a white hat, a black mask and a scarf, she was even more careful than a female star. After entering the room, she began to take off her clothes. Seeing Jiang Xiu looking at her with a faint smile, Nangong Ko blushed and couldn't help but kick him. What are you looking at? If you look at me again, I'll gouge your eyeballs out. Jiang Xiu directly pressed her against the wall. After feeling a little uncomfortable at the beginning, Nangong Ko hugged Jiang Xiu, and her eyes became blurred. When they finally had time, Jiang Xiu asked, "Aren't you going to take a shower first?" Miss Nangong said, "I took a shower and came here. I can only stay here for 1 hour." It was already 9 o'clock, and an hour would be 10 o'clock. The Nangong family was quite strict with their children, and they would be scolded if they went back too late. So they had to hurry up. On the road outside, cars were coming and going. The lights of the cars were shining. Many people were still on their way back. The wind at night blew against the windows, making the most beautiful nocturne in the world. Nangong Ko's long hair was scattered on the snow-white pillow, and her pretty face was covered with fine beads of sweat, which shone brightly under the dim light. Her pretty face was flushed, and she said, "Stop fooling around, I'm fine now. Listen to me. Pluck 2 strands of your hair, and give them to me later." Jiang Xiu was puzzled and he asked, "Why?" Nangong Ko said, "I'm going to do a genetic test. According to genetic research, a great change has occurred in the world, and it has caused some changes in human genes. They call it a divine manifestation. And in the future, there will be a great difference between people who have a divine manifestation and those who don't. And it will be even greater than the gap between the rich and the poor." Jiang Xiu asked, "You've already done a genetic test?" Nangong Ko said, "Yes, the probability of a divine manifestation isn't high, but it only happens once in tens of thousands of people. I'm very lucky, and I have a divine manifestation, so I want to do a test for you." Jiang Xiu checked Nangong Ko's pulse and found that she had a body that could cultivate. It seemed that those who had a divine manifestation were all cultivators. "There's no need." Nangong Ko stretched out her hand and pulled out a strand of his hair. "Yes, this is a great opportunity for you. And you want to live a good life in the future, right?" Nangong Ko said, "Let's not talk about the future, but a room like this costs a lot. A 5-star room costs more than 1,000 yuan a night." Jiang Xiu said, "You can pay for it." Nangong Ko widened her eyes and said, "You're really shameless. Don't tell me that you're planning to live off of me in the future. Dream on. Also, when are you going to pay me back?" Jiang Xiu got out of bed and walked towards the bathroom. "We're so close, and talking about money will hurt our relationship. Is this guy planning to go back on his word?" Nangong Ko chased after him, but she didn't expect that she would be like a lamb sent to a wolf's mouth. She was supposed to get home before 11, but when she got home, it was already 12. She had to collude with her friends, and it wasn't easy for her to deal with it. Thinking about the crazy things she had done, Miss Ko blushed and held her face in her hands. She was very satisfied, but she kept reminding herself that this was the first and last time she would do it. After tossing and turning in bed, she took out a strand of Jiang Xiu's hair and thought to herself, "I hope that you won't be too unlucky, bad guy." Jiang Xiu was also very curious as to what kind of result his hair's genes would get. He would probably become an immortal. Jiang Xiu was very confident about this. Even before the shocking changes in the world, His experience in his previous life had shown that his body was very suitable for cultivation. Being able to climb to the throne of the Sky Motion sect master. Other than excitement and mood, talent was the most indispensable thing. The only variable was that he was now a god. Would their technology be able to detect the genes of a god? Chapter 282. The answer was revealed 2 days later. When Nangong Ko received the report, she couldn't believe it. When she met Jiang Xiu was in a godlike state. He was extremely handsome and had a sense of beauty. In her opinion, Jiang Xiu's genes should be very good. She had to admit that she was a visual animal. The reason why she had a passionate affair with Jiang Xiu was because he was so handsome that she couldn't resist it. However, the results of the genetic tests were gloomy. There is no possibility of a godlike manifestation. She felt sad for Jiang Xiu. According to the Nangong family's genetic department, people who couldn't evolve into godlike manifestations in the future world would become low-class people. They wouldn't even have a chance to turn their lives around. There was no reason for that. However, the DNA tests couldn't lie. For example, she once had a senior who was also super handsome. Wherever he went, the female juniors would go crazy for him and scream nonstop. However, later on, a very embarrassing scene was revealed. This senior was tone-deaf and his singing was terrible. He was completely out of tune. That was fine, but he didn't have any self-awareness at all. When he was happy, he would sing destructive love songs to the female juniors. The current Jiang Xiu gave her a similar feeling. She sighed helplessly and said, "Forget it. Finding a lover is not like finding a boyfriend or husband. Why do I have to be so good? It's fine as long as it works." Miss Nangong comforted herself in her heart. However, she was still worried that Jiang Xiu would be sad because of this. She didn't take the initiative to tell Jiang Xiu. Since she didn't ask, she didn't plan to tell him. She would tell him when things really developed in the future. At this time, in Miss Nangong's heart, our spiritual cultivation had become a kind of incomplete person who needed to be cared for. Time passed very quickly, and more than a month passed in the blink of an eye. The number of gods appearing all over the world was constantly increasing. Although it was kept a secret by the various countries, Jiang Xiu was able to obtain information from Wang Xintong. It could be seen that the other worlds had not stopped descending. In other words, the saint would rather be burned to death than stop the generals of the other worlds. In Jiang Xiu's house, Cheng Lingsu's smile was getting smaller and smaller. However, Jiang Xiu was getting happier and happier. Su Su had already lost more than 10 million yuan. She had lost more than 10 million yuan in just over a month. Although it was just the beginning, and it was normal to lose money. Except for a few geniuses who made money as soon as they entered the market, most of them started from losing money. However, Cheng Lingsu was different. She lost everything she bought, and it was the kind of loss that made people collapse. It would make people completely lose their confidence. Now Cheng Lingsu was like this. She suspected that she was not suitable for the financial industry at all. Wang Xintong looked at the data on the computer and said with some pity, "In fact, Su Su is very talented. If we didn't deliberately suppress her, she would have earned 30 million yuan from the market under normal circumstances. Except for one wrong buy, she should have won the rest." Jiang Xiu said, "The sooner she loses, the sooner she ends the bet, and the sooner she can be free. This is good for everyone. Maybe she will thank me for doing this in the future." Wang Xintong looked at this man. He was really the evil king from the dark world. She has become more and more cautious recently. She is probably afraid of losing money. Jiang Xiu raised a smile. "I saw her scratching her hair in front of the computer. I don't think she can hold on for long." Wang Xintong said, "Su Su can't hold on and finally agreed to divorce you. Then what? What are your plans?" Jiang Xiu was silent. "You want to marry Cheng Lingran? Do you think she will agree?" Jiang Xiu frowned, and a gust of anger came out from between his eyebrows. Wang Xintong's heart tightened. Her neck was choked by Jiang Xiu again. She was lifted up and pressed against the wall. "Who allowed you to mention Cheng Lingran in front of me?" Wang Xintong kicked her feet hard, and her high-heeled shoes fell down. Cough cough. "I won't say it, I won't say it." Jiang Xiu let go of her. Wang Xintong's delicate body slid down from the wall. She coughed hard twice and felt relieved. She muttered in her heart, "If I don't say it, you will have to face it." She stood up and stepped on the soft carpet barefoot. Have you found that Su is more and more like her sister? Her eyebrows, tone, and even laughter are very similar. Sometimes you get it wrong, don't you? Jiang Xiu's eyes flashed a terrible light. He reached out and wanted to choke Wang Xintong's neck again. You are playing with fire again. Don't think that I won't be reluctant to kill you just because you have done something for me and I can use you. I can abandon everything in this world. What's more, it's too easy to find someone to replace you. Many people are eager to do it. Wang Xintong's face changed, and a trace of panic flashed in her eyes. This was her Achilles' heel. She whispered to herself weakly, I just don't want you to suffer. The Jiang family and the Lin family were aristocratic families. If he divorced his younger sister, how could he marry her older sister? No one would agree. Everyone would oppose it. Christmas was coming soon. Jiang Xiu had a Christmas dinner with his mistress, Miss Ko and stayed in the hotel for 2 hours. The two of them loved each other so much that they would have secret rendezvous from time to time. Christmas was a good day for them to have secret rendezvous, so how could they miss it? Unfortunately, Miss Ko always teased Jiang Xiu at the right time, and tonight was no exception. Since her parents had studied abroad, they attached great importance to Christmas, so Miss Ko had to go back home to spend Christmas with her family. I'm going back to Jiang City after a while. Ko was about to leave the hotel. How long will it take? She sounded a bit reluctant to leave. I think I'll be back before the Spring Festival. Lin Yueling had urged him many times to go back to Jiangnan to see Gu Shu and talk to him about the Lin family. Jiang Xiu refused every time with the excuse that he was busy at the end of the semester. Once the semester was over, he would have no excuse to go back. It was estimated that he would go back to Jiang City after the semester was over, and Jiang Yi's work had been transferred to Jiang City. Oh, Nangong Ko walked out of the room after making sure that there was no trace left. She even had to go through the emergency passage on the first floor and take the elevator downstairs. That night, something big happened in the West. It was said that miracles appeared in churches all over the country. The number of immortals was 10 times more than usual. A man with a pair of transparent wings who could fly appeared. When he woke up, he called himself God. The officials of the West secretly called this day the Day of God's Appearance. 10 days later, the semester was over. Under Lin Yueling's strong request, Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingsu went back to Jiangnan first, while Cheng Lingran stayed in the capital temporarily, because she still had several exams to finish. They went back to Jiangnan's King's Garden, because Gu Shu was in Jiangnan. Jiang Xiu and Lin Yueling had an affair during this period of time, and so did the Li family. The Li family's intention couldn't be more obvious. Lin Yueling also enjoyed it. Her friends in the capital also called her frequently. There was no other reason. On the day of a banquet, Lin Yueling wore a piece of jewelry that Jiang Xiu had spent 100 million euros to buy in Europe, which made the banquet explode on the spot. Her former classmates, who had been indifferent to her before, suddenly remembered the memorable days in the past, and all kinds of friendship came back. Son Su. Lin Yueling saw her son and daughter-in-law at the door with a smile on her face. Mom. Su ran over and hugged Lin Yueling coquettishly, as if the 20 million deficit was nothing at all, and that she had everything by throwing herself into the Empress Dowager's arms. Let Mom see, our Su has become prettier again. Because Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingsu came back, the King's Garden became a little livelier. In the past, except for the servants who took care of the house, almost no one came, and it lacked the atmosphere of a home. Now that it was approaching the end of the year, it was a bit like the atmosphere before the festival. As soon as Jiang Xiu came back, guests came to the King's Garden. It was none other than the one-armed old master Tang and Tang Wenchong. Tang Wenchong was now very powerful. After Jiang Xiu's order last time, when Jiang Xiu was allowed to enter the Dao Yutai to unify Jiangnan, the Tang family had been sizing up a lot of people. Even if Tang Wenchong wasn't a first-tier young master in Jiangnan, he was still a second-tier young master. In the tea room of the King's Garden, old Master Tang asked, Mr. Jiang, Gu Shu has arrived. Now many people are stretching their necks to know who the successor is. In Jiangnan's territory, one couldn't help but be curious about who was in charge of Jiangnan. Chapter 283. Jiang Xiu's ambition did not lie in this. He was more concerned about the influence of the other world's descent on this world, and how much it would help his cultivation. After becoming a god, his cultivation progress had been slow. After absorbing the 5th longevity talisman stone, his strength had improved to a certain extent. However, this improvement seemed to be insignificant in the eyes of a god. In the immortal martial continent, this kind of improvement was equivalent to eating a single pill. God knew how many pills a god cultivator would need to eat to advance from low god to mid god. It was an astronomical figure, so eating a single pill was nothing. With the extreme lack of cultivation resources, Jiang Xiu's greatest wish was to understand the laws. However, due to the limitations of heaven and earth, he had not made any progress in cultivating the laws. He hoped that the other world could break through the limitations of heaven and earth. Therefore, he was more willing to listen to Wang Xintong and tell him about Skyline Biology Group. Bodhi Biogenetics was also working hard to absorb god cultivators and research the god emergence gene. This was the key to the future. Jiang Xiu said bluntly, "I haven't met Gu Shu yet." Tang Jinshan nodded and said with a serious expression, "Jiangnan changing its borders is a big deal. Recently, various forces in Jiangnan have been surging, and there are many different opinions." From his tone, the Tang family must have been affected. Jiang City is an exception. With Mr. Jiang, the great Buddha, and the presence of old Master Jiang, no matter who is the feudal ruler of Jiangnan, there will be ripples in Jiang City. Jiang Xiu knew that Jiang Yi was the deputy mayor of Jiangcheng, and Tang Jinshan was supporting him tirelessly. It was as if he had poured Jiang Yi's money into his pocket. He said, "Send the children of your Tang family to Skyline Biology Group for testing. Those with good qualifications will work in Skyline Biology Group." Tang Jinshan was overjoyed when he heard this. As a martial cultivator, of course he could feel the recent changes in heaven and earth. However, his level was too low and he did not know the real reason, but it was still better than ordinary people who did not know anything. "Thank you, Mr. Jiang," Tang Jinshan said. "Mr. Jiang, I heard something recently. I wonder if it's true? Someone said that when Mr. Jiang annihilated the entire Ji clan, you even killed the son of Duke Wuxia, the young swordmaster, who offended you." Jiang Xiu said, "It's true." Tang Jinshan's expression changed drastically at once, and he said worriedly, "Mr. Jiang, this is really inappropriate. Duke Wuxia is a legend of Chinese martial arts for the past 60 years. He is a person who survived the atomic bomb, and everyone thinks that he is a demigod." However, stories about Duke Wuxia have been passed down in Western Shu for 200 to 300 years, and according to an old friend of mine, Duke Wuxia is a god. Jiang Xiu stood up. In front of him was the river, and the light shone on it, causing the water to ripple. To be able to survive such a large-scale nuclear explosion, of course, he was not immortal. However, it was impossible for a demigod to do so. Jiang Xiu knew from the beginning that Si Wuxia was a god, and there were many legends about sword immortals in the western lands. Without wind, there would be no waves. Si Wuxia was very likely a sword immortal. However, Jiang Xiu had met a lot of sword immortals in the immortal martial continent. There must be 2 or 3 sword immortals among every cultivator. He just did not know how strong Si Wuxia was. "Si Wuxia, I hope you don't disappoint me. So what if he's a god?" Tang Jinshan suddenly stood up. Could it be that Mr. Jiang is also? It was widely known that Jiang Xiu was also a god. It was just that he had not personally admitted it. No matter how strong a demigod was, he was still not a match for a god. The gap between the levels was impossible to bridge. Now that Jiang Xiu had admitted it, Tang Jinshan said excitedly, I understand. They were both gods, so let's see who was stronger." This was going to be a real showdown between Hua Guo, an unprecedented battle. As they were chatting, Cheng Lingsu walked over with a smile on her face. This smile made Jiang Xiu feel uncomfortable. What was this little girl so happy about? Could it be that she won some money? "Jiang Xiu, Tang Jinshan stood up and said, Mr. Jiang, I was just nagging. After he left, Jiang Xiu looked at her smiling face and felt uncomfortable. You're so happy. Could it be that you've made money in the financial market? Cheng Lingsu said, It's the holidays now. I don't want to work. This little girl's mentality was really good. Normally, if they lost so much, it would be hard for them to be in a good mood if they did not win it back. However, as long as they did not win it back, everything was fine. Why are you looking for me? Cheng Lingsu said, Most of my high school classmates are in Hangzhou. There's a social gathering tonight. Do you want to go? Jiang Xiu was surprised. Didn't you have a falling out with those people? Cheng Lingsu said, It's all in the past. Although we can't be best friends, we've known each other for 3 years after all. I can't possibly abandon my high school classmates just because of them, right? Jiang Xiu shook his head and said, You can go. I won't go. Ouyang Qian, Lin Shu, and the others all knew about Jiang Xiu's identity. If he went, he would not say anything. Those classmates would also feel uncomfortable. Moreover, Jiang Xiu was not in the mood to deal with them. He would rather hide in his room and cultivate. Then I'll go. Not long after Cheng Lingsu left, Jiang Xiu regretted it. Lin Yueling saw that Tang Jinshan had left and came over to watch Jiang Xiu go to see Gudaji. This matter was delayed again and again. Jiang Xiu knew that he could not delay it any longer. He had no choice but to call Gudaji. Mr. Jiang. After receiving Jiang Xiu's call, Gudaji was very surprised. Jiang Xiu never called him. He communicated with Wang Xintong whenever he had something to do. Gu Shu, I'm back in Jiangnan. Gudaji said, I've been looking forward to your return for a long time. Well, I'll hold a welcome dinner for you at Shizi Manor. Let's meet at 7 o'clock in the evening. After 6 o'clock in the evening, in order to show his respect for Mr. Jiang, Gudaji specially asked the driver to drive his car to pick up Jiang Xiu. This car enjoyed great privileges in Jiang City. If you sped up, the traffic police would sound the alarm for you. Who knew if you had something important to do? When Jiang Xiu arrived at Shizi Manor, he found that there was a banquet inside. It was brightly lit and many celebrities from all sides gathered. The elegant sound of violins came out. This banquet had been arranged a long time ago. It was close to the end of the year, and there were many social activities. Gudaji would never refuse Jiang Xiu, so he invited Jiang Xiu to be the main host. Since Prince Ao came to Jiangnan, Shizi Manor had become a place where celebrities competed to meet. It had been raised. It seemed that it was not classy if it was not here. Gudaji did not want Jiang Xiu to know that there was a banquet here. He felt that Jiang Xiu was negligent, so he asked the driver to enter from another entrance. It felt that this banquet was held by someone else, and he personally stood at the intersection to welcome them. In Jiangnan, only Jiang Xiu was worthy of Gudaji's treatment. Before Prince Ao came to Jiangnan, Gudaji's control over Jiangnan was very weak. There were several families that could compete with him. However, after Prince Ao came to Jiangnan, the rich and powerful families in Jiangnan were cleared out by Jiang Xiu. Gudaji completely controlled the power of Jiangnan. It was a pity that such good days did not come for long, and he had to retire again. Mr. Jiang, it's been a long time. Please come in. Gudaji invited Jiang Xiu in as if he was receiving a leader and said, My eldest brother knew that Mr. Jiang came back to Jiangnan. He wanted to come, but there were too many things to do. He asked me to tell Mr. Jiang. In addition, he hoped that Mr. Jiang would pay more attention to the affairs of the military ministry. Okay. The redeployment of the military ministry was not a matter of a day or two. This matter was too big, and the progress was a bit slow. However, the higher-ups had decided to carry it out with great vigor. Jiang Xiu thought that it was probably to prepare for the possible changes in the alternate world. The two of them entered a quiet clubhouse. The banquet was already served. Only the two of them did not have anyone to accompany them. If Wang Xintong was here, she would be the best candidate. Mr. Jiang, I'll be out of my job in a month after the new year. The higher-ups will soon decide whether to stay or leave. Gudaji was very melancholic. It was a terrible feeling to retire from his position. Mr. Jiang, with your influence, can you influence those people on Diaoyu platform? He had a glimmer of hope and wanted to take another step forward. Everyone wanted more benefits and wanted to climb up, and Gu Dezhi was no exception. After the battle at the Elysium, Jiang Xiu naturally had some influence on Diaoyu platform. In addition to his influence in Jiangnan, he was not involved in the sports field. At this time, Cheng Lingsu and a group of classmates also came to the West Lake. Chapter 284. While others were coveting his position, he was also coveting someone else's position. Jiangnan was in a relatively stable state now. If a new governor were to come, then his strength would definitely invade. This would inevitably be a process of friction. Although a new balance would be reached in the end, Jiangnan could not withstand such friction. Otherwise, the good situation would definitely be overtaken by other places. In Jiang Xiu's opinion, the best result was that Jiangnan would remain the same, but it was a rule that the governor would change, so as not to form a mountain. Jiang Xiu asked, "Who will Gu Shu recommend after he leaves?" Gu Dezhi shook his head. "I've never thought about this question." Jiang Xiu said, "Do you have a candidate in the Gu family?" Gu Dezhi widened his eyes in disbelief. He was shocked by Jiang Xiu's idea, but he immediately nodded. "I have a cousin named Gu Depeng. He is the deputy provincial secretary in South China. He meets the requirements." Jiang Xiu said, "Try to convince him." Gu Dezhi nodded. However, he also knew in his heart that this matter was very difficult. He was still concerned about his own problem. "What about me?" Jiang Xiu said. "I'll report it to Diaoyutai." Gu Dezhi was overjoyed. Whether it was successful or not, at least there was hope. People needed hope. Gu Dezhi, who was lethargic, suddenly became 100 times more energetic. He had not drunk for a long time. Today, not only did he make an exception, but he also repeatedly toasted. "By the way, there's an important matter to tell Mr. Jiang." Jiang Xiu said. "What's the matter?" Gu Dezhi said. "Not long ago, a temple by the West Lake collapsed. There were more than a dozen monks in the temple, including the abbot. No one was spared. From the investigation of the scene, there were no traces of flames or changes in the Earth's crust. Archaeologists said that it was more like a violent force fell from the sky and collapsed the temple. Some of the monks' bodies were crushed to death by hard objects. Several people died in the open space. The abbot was even pinned to a cliff more than 10 meters high by sharp rocks." Jiang Xiu said, "It was done by martial arts. And judging from the power, it was not just a demigod. It might be a god." Gu Dezhi said, "Not only that, but it might not be a human being?" That night, there were 2 student couples camping in Shizi Mountain. The girl claimed that she saw a huge flying snake. Jiang Xiu's eyes suddenly opened. "A demon?" Gu Dezhi said. Moreover, the girl also heard the flying snake speak. It was a very pleasant woman's voice. At that time, because she was in a daze, she wanted to see more clearly, but she was inexplicably knocked out by a force. When she woke up the next day and saw the temple destroyed, she was sure that what she saw last night might be true. Jiang Xiu pondered in his heart. Today's society advocated that there were no ghosts and no demons, but the Hua nation was founded less than 100 years ago. How could they know where the demons and ghosts from 100 years ago were hiding? Maybe they felt that society did not tolerate them and hid. Now that the world had changed, they might have a premonition that their era was coming, so they came out again. Jiang Xiu said. "Why did the demon destroy the temple? Did it leave any message?" Gu Dezhi shook his head. Jiang Xiu asked, "What's the name of the temple?" South Mountain Temple. Compared to who the Jiangnan frontier fell into, Jiang Xiu was more interested in these things. He suddenly became spirited and said, "I'll go take a look later." Gu Dezhi said, "Do you need me to send an armed force with you?" Jiang Xiu smiled and did not say anything. He left the West Mountain Manor on foot and headed for the South Mountain Temple. He was no stranger to Hangzhou. In his previous life, he studied in Hangzhou. Not far away on West Street, there were all kinds of vendors. It was very lively. The lanterns and streamers were quite a bit like the ancient West Mountain Lantern Festival. It was also because of the Hangzhou government's efforts to promote it. A group of boys and girls were walking along the corridor together. They bought a few skewers of barbecue and ate some sugar-coated haws. They talked and laughed, and some exquisite and novel lights attracted their attention. One of the girls was very charming, and was faintly surrounded by a group of people. It was Cheng Lingsu. On the side, Ouyang Qian and Li Dan were chatting around her. The surrounding boys were even more dazzled. It seemed that when the high school classmates gathered together, time had returned to the middle stage of the master. The alienation, indifference, and even forcing Cheng Lingsu to kneel had all become a thing of the past. At this time, it could be seen that Cheng Lingsu was indeed a person with a clear heart, and did not like to hold grudges. If it was an ordinary person, when facing someone who had hurt them, their heart would definitely have a knot and they would definitely not be so intimate as before. "Su, why didn't you come?" Ouyang Qian asked. She had also opened her mouth today. When she saw Cheng Lingsu, she immediately knelt down and cried bitterly with Li Dan, saying that she was also forced and so on. Cheng Lingsu's heart was like a mirror, so she did not expose them. The Cheng clan had returned to the Cheng family, and she had returned to the high and mighty second miss of the Cheng clan. Moreover, Cheng Lingsu was married to Mr. Jiang. "Qian, are you stupid? That person is even welcomed by the Feng Jiang. How can he be so free as to walk around here like us?" Li Dan echoed. Ouyang Qian also knew that when she saw that Cheng Lingsu had forgiven them, she wondered if Jiang Xiu would also forgive them. If they had a relationship with Jiang Xiu, who would they need to be afraid of in Jiangnan? Cheng Lingsu said, "He's not busy, but he has a cold personality and likes to be quiet." Some of the students present did not know about the relationship between Cheng Lingsu and Jiang Xiu. "Su, you have a boyfriend?" Ouyang Qian smiled and said proudly, "If you guys want to confess, just swallow it. Our Su is already taken." Some of the male students knew that they had no chance, but when they heard that the campus belle had a boyfriend, their fantasy was shattered and they inevitably felt depressed. They asked sourly, "Who is it?" Ouyang Qian said, "He's also our schoolmate, but you guys can't guess who he is." "Lin Shu, don't say it." Lin Shu was also among them. Since Yi Wenchen went to Gaofu, the two had basically not contacted each other. He said, "Am I tired of living? How dare I say that?" Lin Shu had a girlfriend called Xiaomei. She was a very sweet-looking girl. She held his arm and asked curiously, "Why does it sound like that person is very powerful?" "Powerful?" The group could not help but have a strange expression. Ouyang Qian said, "Let's put it this way. The number one young master of Jiangnan by Xiaoyu is not even worthy of carrying his shoes." Xiaomei heard this and her eyes widened in horror. "Qian, you're joking. Who was Bai Xiaoyu?" He was someone they had to look up to. Xiaomei's family was not an ordinary family. They had some money and their assets were tens of millions, which was a good match for Lin Shu. But compared with Bai Xiaoyu, they were far behind. Bai Xiaoyu was a young master with billions of assets. His family also had a strong relationship with the government. Except for the four young masters of Jiangnan, Bai Xiaoyu is the top one. Ouyang Qian's words were shocking. The four young masters of Jiangnan are nothing in front of him. She remembered that when she was in Jiang City, Jiang Xiu's family was still running a fruit stall, but he beat up the so-called four young masters of Jiangnan. What about now? Gu Shu's son, the number one young master of Jiangnan, young Master Gu, was like a mouse seeing a cat when he saw Jiang Xiu. He hid as far as he could, and did not even have the courage to appear in front of Jiang Xiu. The more you say, the more ridiculous it is. Is it possible that young Master Gu is not worthy of carrying his shoes? Before Xiaomei came to Hangzhou and met Lin Shu's group, she did not even know about young Master Gu. Then she heard that he was the number one young master of Jiangnan. Although they could not be friends, she was attracted to him. Ouyang Qian said, "If you don't believe me, ask your husband." Lin Shu's face could not help but turn pale. He said, "I don't dare to talk about him." In Jiangnan, the name Mr. Jiang became more and more taboo. Especially after the proud prince, the Wang family of Jiangnan entered the market to integrate resources. Mr. Jiang was like the sky covering Jiangnan. Ouyang Qian said, "Is he good to you?" Cheng Lingsu's face showed a faint smile with a bit of shyness. He's okay. He's cold on the outside but warm on the inside. It's just that he cares about his face. She did not know if Chung Lingsu said this for others to hear, or if she thought so in her heart. She looked into the distance, but the smile on her face gradually froze. She saw a familiar figure. It was a girl who was not much less beautiful than her. She was also shopping with a group of friends. Yibing, isn't that Yibing from our old school? Ouyang Qian saw Chung Lingsu's face become unnatural. She remembered that when they were in high school, Jiang Xiu seemed to have been with Yibing. At this time, there was a very intimate male friend beside Yibing. She guessed that he might be her boyfriend. Chapter 285. Yibing smiled sweetly as she looked back and saw Chung Lingsu and the others. Her eyes lit up. Back in high school, Yibing was also a member of the school's student council. Although they weren't close, they were still good friends. Hey, it's you. What a coincidence. Yibing happily went up to greet her. Yibing was accompanied by her best friend Lu Xiaoyan. The two of them had been inseparable since high school. Yes, what a coincidence. Ouyang Qian was a little cold to Yibing's enthusiasm. Although she and Li Dan were thrown into the West Lake by Jiang Xiu and almost drowned, she didn't dare to be dissatisfied. Soon she found her position again. It didn't matter if people said that human nature was ugly or unbearable. This was who they were. After finding her position again, she stood in the position of Chung Lingsu again. Then, Yibing became a love rival to Chung Lingsu now. Of course, she couldn't be polite to her. Are you also playing in Hangzhou? Chung Lingsu said with a smile. Yes. Do you want to join us? No. Yibing was very smart. She naturally knew that Ouyang Qian, Li Dan, and the other girls didn't welcome her. If they squeezed together, they wouldn't have enough fun. The two groups of people separated after greeting each other. Lu Xiaoyan snorted disdainfully. You think you are superior in high school. You are still the same in college. If you don't want to play with us, we won't be happy. She didn't like the arrogance of Ouyang Qian and the others. Yibing said, they are not the same kind of people as us. Don't mention them. Let's go to the lake. Didn't you say that the lake at night has a special scenery? The West Lake was being developed better and better. There were games during the day and at night. Not only could they swim in the lake, but they could also swim while eating hot pot. Su Jiayong, haven't you always been thinking about Yushizi? Let's go there and take a boat. Yibing said to the boy next to her with a smile. The boy was very handsome and had a little foreign temperament. Okay, but is it safe? Lu Xiaoyan covered her mouth and snickered. Are you a non-swimmer? Su Jiayong squeaked. Seeing this, the two women giggled. Not only Yibing, but Lu Xiaoyan was also accompanied by a gentleman wearing glasses. He seemed to be a science guy, and there was also a couple. Let's go. If we want to see the whole picture of Shizi, we have to go in by boat. The group of people arrived at the ferry. At this time, there were not many tourists taking the boat, and even fewer people eating hot pot on the boat. After all, the weather was a little cold, and it was even colder on the lake. Only the young people on a whim had the mood to eat hot pot. There was only one boat at the ferry, and the boatmen were slacking off. Most of them didn't come out to work. Give us a table of hot pot and a lake tour. The boatman answered happily and called the lady boss to prepare the items. Just as the group was about to go to bed, Yibing froze on the spot. Lu Xiaoyan said in surprise, "What's wrong with Yibing?" Following her line of sight, she saw a figure she hadn't seen in a long time. Then he heard a voice. I want to go to the other side. Lu Xiaoyan said, Hey, isn't that Jiang Xiu? He's here too. Jiang Xiu, Jiang Xiu. Yibing wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Lu Xiaoyan saw her old classmate and waved happily. Jiang Xiu could naturally walk on the water, but this was the downtown area. And there were people on boats going to the lake. If they saw it, it would probably be on the news. Hearing someone call him, he turned around in surprise. Yibing, Lu Xiaoran, it's you guys? Yibing's expression was very unnatural, and her pretty face was a little red. She couldn't help but think of the thunderstorm on the day of the college entrance exam, and what happened between the two of them in the phone booth. Jiang Xiu didn't expect to meet Yibing here, and then he saw the flower protector standing beside her. Seeing that the distance between the two of them was less than 30 centimeters, they should have a very close relationship. He smiled and said, "Long time no see." Yi Bing said, "Yes, long time no see. Jiayong, this is our high school classmate. His name is Jiang Xiao." Lu Jiayong waved to Jiang Xiao. "Hello, brother." Jiang Xiao smiled faintly, and it could be considered a greeting. The boatman said, "It's good that you guys know each other. Sir, we only have one boat here, and it has already been rented by them. Why don't you guys come together?" Lu Xiaoyan said, "Jiang Xiao, you want to ride on the boat?" "Sure, we ordered a hot pot set meal, and this meal is on you." Jiang Xiao smiled and said, "Sure, it's my honor that Miss Lu is willing to give me face." Yi Bing said, "Xiaoyan, don't mess around. Jiang Xiao is only one person, and the six of us, of course it's on us." She pulled Lu Xiaoyan and said something softly. Although her voice was soft, Jiang Xiao heard it clearly. His family's conditions weren't good, and you still asked others to pay. Lu Xiaoyan smiled and said to Jiang Xiao, "I'm just joking with you. Of course it's on us." Jiang Xiao didn't comment, and looked at the boy beside Lu Xiaoyan. It seemed that he was Lu Xiaoyan's boyfriend. These girls must have been bored out of their minds in high school, and as soon as they entered university, they all found boyfriends. Not long after, the hot pot was ready. The boat was not an ordinary boat, and it was enough to hold 2 round tables. Sometimes, when business was good, 2 tables would be opened at the same time. The round table was enough to hold 8 people. Jiang Xiao was originally going to Nanshan Temple in high spirits, but now that he met an old friend, he was not in a hurry to go. He sat on the boat and toured the West Lake with great interest. Lu Xiaoyan said, "Jiang Xiao, where are you studying now?" Jiang Xiao said, "Beijing University." After saying that, he looked at Yi Bing. She was sitting next to her boyfriend, Lu Jiayong. After that rain, Yi Bing had sent out an invitation to Jiang Xiao, hinting that if Jiang Xiao went to Beijing to study, she would consider dating him. Although Jiang Xiao's heart belonged to someone, he was also puzzled. Yi Bing's cutoff score was definitely at Beijing University or China University, but he had never heard of her coming to Beijing to study. Yi Bing lowered her head, and her eyelashes fluttered. "What about you?" Jiang Xiao asked Lu Xiaoyan. Lu Xiaoyan sighed helplessly. "I'm not as capable as you to get into Beijing University. I'm now studying at Jiangnan University, but we're not like a certain someone." She clearly scored so high and could choose from Beijing University or China University, but she actually went abroad to study. Jiang Xiao said, "So you went abroad?" Yi Bing said, "My family arranged it." She had never heard of anyone with such good grades going abroad. They all went abroad because their families were rich. Su Jiayong said, "Fortunately, Bing Bing went abroad to study. Otherwise, I wouldn't have met her." After saying that, he looked at Yi Bing affectionately. Yi Bing smiled at him, but this smile was a little awkward. After that day, she called Jiang Xiao, but Jiang Xiao didn't pick up, and Jiang Xiao never contacted her. The sensitive girl thought that this was a sign that Jiang Xiao rejected her. Because of this, she didn't even want to go to Beijing to study. Moreover, her father seemed to be very opposed to her relationship with Jiang Xiao. The Yi family was a martial arts family. Yi Ilyang had witnessed Mr. Zhang's rise in the East Continent, but he didn't want his daughter to be involved in underground fights, so he sent her abroad. An obedient girl like Yi Bing was not suitable for someone like Jiang Xiao. "Jiang Xiao, do you have a girlfriend now?" This question was really difficult to answer. His relationship with Cheng Lingsu was only a name, and his relationship with Nangongko, or was more like a pure relationship. However, his love for Cheng Lingran didn't belong to him. "Not yet." Yi Bing looked at Jiang Xiao in surprise. She didn't expect this answer. She thought in her heart, "Is he doing this for me?" But then she felt that she was too naive. She had plucked up her courage, but he had rejected her. How could he not find a girlfriend for her? Su Jiayong noticed that since Jiang Xiao appeared, Yi Bing had been very strange. She often lost her voice and looked at Jiang Xiao in a strange way. Something was wrong. In particular, he felt that Yi Bing looked at him with an indescribable sadness. This was a look that he had never seen before. The young man understood. "Jiang Xiao, what does your family do?" Su Jiayong asked. As soon as he asked this question, Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan both looked at him in surprise. Lu Xiaoran even shook her head at Su Jiayong, but Su Jiayong pretended not to see it. When he said that Jiang Xiu would treat them, Yi Bing's reaction and Lu Xiaoyan's change made him realize that Jiang Xiu's family might not be rich. He wanted to deal a blow to Jiang Xiu so that he could recognize reality and stop thinking about his girlfriend. Chapter 286. Since Lu Jiayong also studied abroad, his family's conditions must be good, so he had the intention to ridicule him. Jiang Xiu glanced at him but ignored him. Lu Jiayong pursued. What's wrong? It's not convenient to say? The atmosphere was a bit awkward. Lu Xiaoyan said. It's not that hard to say, right Jiang Xiu? Jiang Xiu's family runs a fruit stall. His parents also work hard to earn money. Lu Jiayong raised his eyebrows and said. So it's a fruit stall. That's indeed hard work. Fruits are worthless and heavy. Even if you work yourself to death to move a big watermelon in the summer, you won't be able to buy it for more than $10. There's no other way. This world is so unfair. Some people work from day to night and risk their lives, but they can't earn a few $100s. Selling houses and cars, just by moving their lips, they can earn tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. A faint sense of pretentiousness arose spontaneously. It was estimated that this kid's family was in a high-profit business. Jiang Xiu said, My family doesn't sell fruits anymore. It would have been better if he didn't explain. Once he did, Lu Xiaoyan's boyfriend Pan Bo and another couple couldn't help but laugh. The laughter was very sarcastic. This couple was also Yi Bing's classmates abroad. They came to Hangzhou together to play, and their family background was also very good. As Jiang Xiu's classmates, Lu Xiaoyan and Yi Bing were quite embarrassed. Su Jiayong said, Then we can't let Jiang Xiu treat us. Renting the boat is 800. Adding on this hot pot, it's estimated to be 1 or 2,000. Jiang Xiu, you don't even have 1 or 2,000 pocket money for a semester. We can't be so unkind and let you eat the northwest wind next spring. Jiang Xiu smiled faintly and turned to the boatman. Boatman, go to Nanshan Temple. Since he wasn't welcome here, he didn't want to stay any longer. The boatman said, You want to go to Nanshan Temple? I advise you not to go. I don't know why it collapsed. All the monks in the temple are dead. Jiang Xiu said, I'm going over there to do something. When the boatman saw that Jiang Xiu was determined to go, he didn't say anything else. He was just a boatman. Wherever the guests wanted to go, he would take them there. Anyway, it was calculated on time. Seeing that Jiang Xiu was about to leave, Yi Bing opened her mouth. She had something she wanted to say to Jiang Xiu, but with so many people around, especially Su Jiayong, she couldn't say anything. She lowered her head sadly. Su Jiayong pointed to a place far away. It was brightly lit, and the melodious sound of a violin could be heard. Su Jiayong couldn't help but ask, What is that place? The boatman said, The most upscale manor in Hangzhou is called Qi Manor. Only high-ranking officials and dignitaries are qualified to enter. I heard that there will be a banquet tonight. Su Jiayong said, This is Shizi Manor. Hurry up, boatman, come over and take a look. He seemed a little excited. When I was in Guangling, I heard that there was a Shizi Manor in Shizi Lake. Prince Ao chose this place to go to Jiangnan. But he didn't go to Jiangnan. Instead, he was attacked head-on by Mr. Jiang. Lu Xiaoran said, Jiayong, what are you talking about? Su Jiayong said proudly, This is a game between the higher-ups. Ordinary people don't know about it at all. Those are all big shots. It can't be explained in a short time. In short, Shizi Manor is a place with a story. Lu Xiaoyan's boyfriend, Pan Bo, said, Jiayong, aren't you from Guangling? You know about the higher-ups in Jiangnan? Su Jiayong said, An uncle in my family was transferred to Jiang City a while ago to be the deputy provincial secretary. I heard about it from others. I'm guessing that my cousin might be inside. Wow. As soon as these words came out, the people present couldn't help but be in an uproar. They had long known that Su Jiayong's family affairs were extraordinary, but they really didn't expect that he had an uncle who was the deputy provincial secretary. The way they looked at him changed. Even Yi Bing, who was on the side, was surprised. Maybe even she didn't know that Su Jiayong's family affairs had such a strong background. Deputy Provincial Secretary, for most ordinary people, was definitely a high and mighty position. When the boatman heard that this was a noble young master, he didn't dare to neglect him. He hurriedly approached Shizi Manor and ignored Jiang Xiu's gorgeous appearance. "Hello, cousin? It's me, Jiayong. I'm on the Shizi Lake in Hangzhou. Are you there? Are you really there? I guessed you were there. I still have a few classmates and my girlfriend is also there. Can we come over?" "Yes, that's great. Okay. After hanging up the phone, Su Jiayong was very happy. He immediately said to the boatman, "Come over. My cousin said that we can enter Shizi Manor by water. There is a private dock. Do you know?" The boatman said, "I know, but I won't let you in." Su Jiayong said heroically, "If I say it's okay, then it's okay." Jiang Xiu thought to himself, "Okay, I just rushed out and went around, but you went back again." He said, "Why don't you send me to Nanshan Temple first?" Su Jiayong said, "Are you in a hurry?" Jiang Xiu said, "That's not very urgent." "Since you're not in a hurry, then come with us to play. Shizi Manor is not a place that anyone can enter. Many people will never have such an opportunity in their lives." Lu Xiaoyan also said, "Yes, Jiang Xiu, if you're not in a hurry, come with us. It's good to see it." They were no longer children. College was just a flash away. They had to prepare for society in the future. If they could have some connections, especially such a high-level relationship as the Deputy Provincial Secretary, it would be very useful. Pan Bo and the others on the side also had their eyes shining. They all knew what this meant. Lu Xiaoyan shook Yi Bing's hand and was very happy for her good sister. She had known that Yi Bing's family was very well off. But no matter how good it was, it couldn't be compared with the Deputy Provincial Secretary. When her sister became rich, she would also benefit from it. But Jiang Xiu really wanted to step on the water and go. There were a few boats not far from them. The neon lights on the lake were very bright. If he went down, he would definitely be seen. Yi Bing said, "If you're not in a hurry, then let's go together." Yi Bing had good intentions. Even if she wasn't fated to be with him, she still hoped that Jiang Xiu could have a good future. A good diploma was not enough to change one's fate. Jiang Xiu said, "How about this? I'll send you guys in first, and then you can send me." Jiang Xiu didn't have the temperament to accompany them to deal with those so-called influential people. Su Jiayong said, "Up to you." In his heart, he was muttering that he didn't know how to appreciate favors. Lu Xiaoyan secretly shook her head. Sigh, he didn't know how to grasp such a good opportunity. What's the use of getting into Imperial Capital University? People who don't know how to grasp opportunities will never have a future. The other people on the side also deeply agreed. Yi Bing actually wanted to persuade Jiang Xiu, but she knew that Jiang Xiu was a person with a backbone. Jiang Xiu came to her house and knew that her family was rich, but he didn't accept her. She felt that this was especially rare, but it was a pity that they weren't fated. Seeing him refuse again and again, her heart felt very uncomfortable. The boat passed through the guardrail and entered the restricted area. A slightly fat man came over from the dock. He should be Lu Jiayong's cousin. After going ashore, only Yi Bing remembered to pay the fare and said, "Be careful." Jiang Xiu slightly nodded. The boatman turned the boat around and headed in the direction of Nanshan Temple. Yi Bing looked at Jiang Xiu standing proudly at the bow of the boat. His arrogance made her eyes dim. Lu Xiaoyan on the side carefully asked, "Don't look. He's already gone. Don't tell me you still like him." Yi Bing said, "What nonsense are you talking about? There's nothing between him and me." Lu Xiaoyan pursed her lips and snickered. "You still say there's nothing between us? Before the college entrance examination, I went to your house and saw you with him in your room. Was it all fake?" Yi Bing's pretty face couldn't help but turn red. She still couldn't figure out this matter. How could Jiang Xiu appear in her house, and in that kind of situation? "Bing Bing, this is my cousin." "Oh, he's here." Nanshan Temple could be regarded as a scenic area attached to West Lake. It was quite famous. Before it was developed into a scenic area, Nanshan Temple had a history of hundreds and thousands of years since it was built in the Southern Tang Dynasty. It was said that it was very efficacious. Later, because it was in a scenic area, the incense was even more prosperous. However, Nanshan Temple didn't open the door every day. It only opened on the 1st and 15th day of the lunar month, and each time it only opened half of the door. It would only be fully opened on festivals such as the Zhongyuan Hanyi. From afar, Jiang Xiu saw a big Buddha carved on the mountain rock. On the side there were 4 big words, the true meaning of Sakyamuni. There was a debate about this big Buddha. It was said that the eyes of this stone Buddha used to be open, but now they were closed. The historian of Hangzhou also showed a drawing on an ancient book. The eyes of the Buddha on the wall of Nanshan Temple were indeed open. Chapter 287. The Buddha statue was very close, but it still took more than 10 minutes to reach the stairs leading to South Mountain Temple. The sky was very dark, and he could only rely on the moonlight and the faint lights in the distance. The boatman asked, "Sir, do you still want me to wait for you here?" Jiang Xiu went ashore. The lake water under his feet hit the stone steps, making them slippery. "No need, you can go back." Renting a boat was charged on time, just like taxis. If you make someone wait, you don't have to pay. The boatman said somewhat uninterestedly, "Then I'll go back." However, it's not short to climb over the mountain. Jiang Xiu was already walking up the stairs. The boatman noticed that Jiang Xiu was walking very quickly, and he found it somewhat inconceivable. In just a moment, he had already reached the 100th step, and he was already far away. When he arrived at South Mountain Temple, it was a ruin. With his eyesight, he could see that this was not caused by the explosion of firearms or an earthquake. It was caused by an extraordinary force. In addition to the collapsed temple, he could also see the collapsed mountain rocks around. The monk's corpse had already been disposed of, but the blood on the ground was still stained into the rocks. Huff huff. Under the night sky, Jiang Xiu's body was slightly radiant. Under his powerful aura, the world was austere, causing the wind to blow in the sky. "Come out!" With a low shout, a huge snake shadow appeared from the sky, riding a demonic wind. Only half of its body was exposed, and its eyes, which were larger than a person, were abnormally sharp. It stared at Jiang Xiu. "A human master?" The snake shadow's voice was unexpectedly very pleasant. It was a female voice, which easily reminded people of a young girl like Chunglingsu. It echoed in the mountains under the night sky. There was no one around, which made people a little scared. They couldn't help but think of the legends of demons and ghosts mentioned in books. In fact, it was indeed a demon. "You shouldn't have come here. This is my territory. I will kill any human who enters here." He had already awakened at the beginning of the otherworld's descent, but he was unfamiliar with this world. There were tall buildings, and it was no longer the original world. For this reason, he had been dormant for a long time, observing the current humans for a long, long time. He found that the current human bodies were actually weak to the point of being unbearable. But their intelligence was much higher than before, and they had many incredible weapons. It wasn't until he made a breakthrough a while ago that he came out and occupied this place. From now on, this mountain belonged to him. The style of occupying a mountain and becoming a king. He also expected that there would be human powerhouses looking for trouble. Boom! The huge snake body rushed down, and a powerful airflow swept up around it, causing the surrounding trees to be uprooted. Its speed had surpassed the sound barrier. Jiang Xiu was shocked. In the immortal martial continent, demons weren't called demons. Many of the Protoss also had strange appearances. Therefore, such large intelligent creatures were called demon gods. The demon god had broken through the hypersonic barrier, and his body's strength had reached an astonishing level. In terms of realm, he was already a lower god, comparable to Jiang Xiu, and the body of a demon god was superior to that of an ordinary god in the early stage. With a huge body of more than 100 meters, the muscles on his body were full of strength, and the scales were stronger than steel. They emitted a faint glow, and the stones that were crushed by him were crushed into powder. Boom! The moment he rushed over, it was as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was splitting, sweeping through everything. Not weak. Jiang Xiu's face began to change. His hair grew long, and his eyes melted. He was already deified. This was the strongest opponent Jiang Xiu had encountered so far. Whoosh! The huge snake opened its mouth, which was more than 10 meters wide, and a huge beam of light shot out like a rocket launcher. Jiang Xiu's intuition was right. If he wasn't deified, he might have been at a disadvantage. With a whoosh, his body flashed, and he suddenly appeared more than 30 meters in the air. The huge white light blasted where he was standing just a moment ago. It was too fast and too fierce. The mountain behind him exploded, and huge rocks weighing more than 100,000 kilograms burst like bubbles. The entire mountain collapsed. So strong. Jiang Xiu was rather shocked. A low-tier demon god actually had such powerful strength. If it wasn't for his rich combat experience and him escaping the moment the huge snake opened its mouth, he would have exploded like a rock. Whoosh! In the air, Jiang Xiu's forehead flashed with light. Knife pellet flashed out and disappeared without a trace in the pitch-black night. The inch light was entwined with thunder and lightning, and it emitted the sound of electric currents. Ding! There was the sound of metal colliding. The demon god's huge body couldn't dodge such a fast-flying inch light. With a sudden jolt, his entire body was distorted and sunk in. But that was all. The scales weren't damaged and no blood flowed. What a terrifying defense. A scaled demon god's defense was even more terrifying than a maned demon god's. Roar! The snake demon god let out a deafening roar in pain. Jiang Xiu's strength had far exceeded his expectations. Jiang Xiu's expression was cold. This is my territory. You dare to kill in my territory? The snake demon god said coldly. So what if I kill you? You humans feed on birds and beasts. You've killed many of my kind. I heard you have a dish called snake soup. Jiang Xiu was speechless. He wasn't someone who pretended to be benevolent and righteous. He was truly a vile person. He even clearly knew that he was a bad person. He also firmly believed that this was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. The weak would be eaten and killed. It had nothing to do with right or wrong. He also didn't want to distinguish right or wrong with the other party. Why are you speechless? A long time ago, there was a monk who said that all living things had spirits, and that all living things were equal. I believed him, but I nearly died in his hands. The snake demon god's tone was calm. Hearing the clear and melodious voice of a young girl, Jiang Xiu felt like he was being teased. Jiang Xiu said, "The law of the jungle. If you win against me, this place is yours. If you lose, you die here." His tone was cold and without a trace of emotion. The snake demon god said, "You think you've already won. Humans have only taken a shortcut in the past few thousand years. Once you've reached the Tao, nothing can last forever. Humans can't always be the main characters." Jiang Xiu's heart suddenly jumped. Perhaps the descent of another world would really cause great changes. It's not up to you to decide. The snake demon god suddenly swung his body. His body twisted and emitted a terrifying light. It was as if the Milky Way was flowing in reverse. Jiang Xiu suddenly flashed. After another blur in the air, he was already 100 meters away. Bang! The heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The cracks in the ground extended toward Jiang Xiu. It was like a huge earthquake. After Jiang Xiu's feet landed on the ground, he forcefully pushed off. His body rushed forward, also surpassing the sound barrier. Saber whistle shaking the 9 heavens. Jiang Xiu held the blade with both hands and slashed down. Countless talismans gathered in the air, forming the shape of a blade. The blade dragged the entire pitch-black sky behind it. When this blade slashed down, it was as if the 9 heavens had fallen. The demon god didn't dodge. With a boom, he took a deep breath. It was as if thunder was rumbling inside his body. Waves of invisible air waves were emitted. Then he suddenly swung his body toward Jiang Xiu. Bang! Jiang Xiu was sent flying. He revealed a shocked expression. The talisman blade shattered like glass and then turned into sparkling energy particles in the sky. Gods could draw upon the power of the void for their own use, but the power was still dependent on themselves. Die. The snake demon god rushed over, sticking close to the mountain forest. It was as if he was flying. He suddenly opened his mouth. and was about to swallow Jiang Xiu. Jiang Xiu's expression was shocked. He immediately rose into the air, straight into the night sky. The snake demon god's head stretched out and brought his body into the sky, chasing after him. One god and one demon were in the sky. Jiang Xiu's speed was fast. He wasn't any slower than the snake demon god. In fact, he was even faster. Seeing that he couldn't catch up, the snake demon god opened his mouth again. Boom! Another powerful beam of light shot out like a rocket launcher. At such a close distance and at such a fast speed, there was no way to escape. Jiang Xiu, who was rushing up at full speed, looked down indifferently. There was a cold glint in his eyes as he softly spat out a word. Hong! When this word was spoken, the snake demon god's body trembled. After looking up at the sky, it immediately fell back down. The powerful beam of light it spat out was powerless and slowly dissipated. Is this the true meaning of Buddhism? The demon god that had fallen to the ground scuttled into the rubble. He twisted his body and quickly disappeared into the mountain forest. You can't subdue me, Jiang Xiu said. Then why did you have to run? He felt a bit of regret. He could determine that the snake demon god was injured, but he didn't know to what extent. Humph! The snake demon god's voice sounded. Human expert, I will think of a way to break your mantra. His intelligence had been increasing very quickly recently, and he had figured out many things. Chapter 288. Upon hearing this, Jiang Xiu's pitch-black eyes flashed with contemplation. From this short conversation, he could tell that this demon god was extremely intelligent, and was extremely confident in his own intelligence. What he was using was the divine inscriptions. The so-called Sure School was born from this. Although there were differences, they weren't too far apart. Yet this demon god actually dared to say that he would be able to see through it? From his tone, it didn't seem like he needed too much time. This greatly provoked Jiang Xiu's anger. A mere reptile dares to provoke me. His hands formed sword fingers and guarded his divine vitality. The strong light on his forehead rose again. With a whoosh, the inch ray flashed out again and instantly chased into the distant darkness. Wherever the inch ray passed, nothing could escape Jiang Xiu's eyes. Whoosh! The inch ray was so fast that there was a loud explosion from inside. A huge rock was blasted into the sky. A huge snake that had originally fled rushed up with its head held high like a divine dragon. Below its body, a flashing white light chased after it. Jiang Xiu even flew towards the sky. His long hair and clothes fluttered, and he was as fast as the wind. Where do you think you're going? From resisting Jiang Xiu's flying knife to fleeing pathetically, it could be seen that its injuries were not light. That was the first sound of heaven and earth. Its power was self-evident, especially when it was used against existences of the Yin attribute. Snakes were of the Yin attribute, so female snakes were far stronger than male snakes. The first sound of heaven and earth would cause more damage to her. It would be difficult for her to resist Jiang Xiu's attack like before. Boom! With a loud sound, the snake demon god drilled into the bottom of the lake like a flood dragon. Water splashed up to a height of 10 to 20 meters. With a whoosh, the inch ray cut through the water, and also penetrated into the water. One had to admit that the snake demon god's intelligence was indeed astonishing. Ordinary humans did not have such intelligence. They knew that the inch ray's speed in entering the water would be reduced. Not only that, the snake demon god also looked in the direction of the human area. This was the reason why Jiang Xiu did not kill it and let it go. If such a snake demon god appeared in public, it would definitely cause panic in society. Where do you think you're going? Jiang Xiu didn't care whether he would be exposed or not. He flew over the water and chased after them. The closest place with the densest crowd was Shizi Manor, which became his target. The speed of inch of light was indeed much slower underwater. With just a slight distraction, he lost track of the snake demon god in the pitch-black depths. Jiang Xiu asked, "Do you think you can escape?" He sniffed the air. Other than the faint scent of the lake, there was also a faint smell of blood. How could a god elementalist, who was sensitive to blood, escape the notice of an injured god elementalist without any medicine to stop the bleeding? Stepping on the water and smelling the smell of blood, Jiang Xiu chased them to the shore. As soon as he looked up, he saw Shizi Manor in front of him. Jiang Xiu couldn't help but frown. 500 years of Earth immortal. At this time, demons already had the basic conditions to transform into human beings. But if they transformed at this time, it would greatly hinder their cultivation. However, many demons still couldn't resist the temptation to transform into human beings. The snake demon god who fought with him had cultivated for more than 500 years, or even 2,000 years. When it came out, it was in the form of a demon god. It could be seen that it understood this truth. But at the moment of life and death, it was very likely that it would choose to transform to avoid Jiang Xiu's eyes and ears. Moreover, from the sound of violins and laughter coming from inside, it seemed that it should have transformed. Otherwise, such a big snake would have been scared to cry for its parents. Jiang Xiu directly passed through the outer wall and slowly faded away his deification. In the Shizi Manor at night, it was full of dignitaries. They gathered in small groups of 2s and 3s to talk. The well-dressed waiters walked through it with trays in their hands. The performance group was on the left side of the grass. With smiles on their faces, they played the best music for the dignitaries to enjoy. There were too many people of all shapes and sizes. Jiang Xiu's eyes searched through the crowd. The snake demon god had such high intelligence. Moreover, it had observed human beings for a long time. It could learn very well and flawlessly. Now the only chance was that it was injured. Hey, isn't that Jiang Xiu? Didn't he say that he wouldn't come? Didn't he come in the end? In the crowd in the distance, Lu Xiaoyan's boyfriend, Pan Bo, noticed Jiang Xiu wandering around the periphery of the crowd. Hearing this, several people around him looked over curiously. Yes, it's Jiang Xiu. Lu Xiaoyan naturally wouldn't be mistaken. Yi Bing also saw him. She admired Jiang Xiu's aloofness, but she didn't agree with it in her heart. Compared with the current social environment, there were no fish in the clear water. Sometimes, for the sake of opportunities, people could give up some unnecessary persistence appropriately. However, when she saw Jiang Xiu appear here, she was very disappointed and looked down on Jiang Xiu. She felt that the Jiang Xiu she used to like and admire had changed. It was just like the day she stepped into the airport and stood at the boarding gate, holding her phone, imagining that he would call at this time and she would resolutely stay. She was just as disappointed. I thought your classmate was so noble, but he still came. Su Jiayong's words were full of sarcasm. It was not shameful to bow in front of an opportunity. What was shameful was that he pretended to be righteous and proud, but in the end, he still came eagerly. This was a little ugly. People looked down on his personality. Ask him to come over. Don't run around and offend anyone here. He can't afford to take responsibility. Not everyone is as easy to talk to as I am. Su Jiayong's tone was very arrogant. Yi Bing also noticed that Jiang Xiu was looking around in the crowd. What was very vulgar was that he was always staring at women. Although it was winter now, many beautiful madams and young ladies were wearing evening gowns. They were low-cut and had exposed backs. The heating in the manor was turned on, so they could barely make do with it. He hasn't changed in terms of being vulgar. From the voice, Jiang Xiu judged that the other party was a female. After transforming, it could only be a female. Of course, Jiang Xiu paid attention to women. He even had to get closer and smell them with his nose. However, all he smelled was a strong perfume. It was really pungent. However, Jiang Xiu's current image was really unbearable. It was extremely wretched. Why is he like this? Lu Xiaoyan felt very embarrassed. Yi Bing's expression was very ugly. After Jiang Xiu searched the crowd, he didn't find a flying dagger that was emitting a light. If one didn't look carefully, they would think that it was a star. After becoming a god, the light of the dagger was a part of his body. If anyone walked out, Jiang Xiu would be able to detect them through the light. He was very cunning. He didn't plan to escape. It's so embarrassing. Yi Bing was speechless. Every time she saw this guy, she was always half dead. She finally couldn't bear it anymore and walked over. Jiang Xiu also noticed her. His gaze fell on her body. He saw that her pretty face was cold and her footsteps were much heavier than usual. She looked like she was about to go berserk. Yi Bing said, "Is it nice? Have you seen enough?" How baffling. Jiang Xiu said. What did I see? Yi Bing said. You're still pretending. Jiang Xiu, you're already so old. Why are you still like this? You're a top student at the capital university. Why don't you have any self-respect? Jiang Xiu said. Are you crazy? Yi Bing widened her eyes and said, You have medicine. She even had a temper. In the past, Yi Bing was taught a lesson by Jiang Xiu. Now that she went to the United States and drank some foreign ink, she didn't know her surname anymore. Come with me, Jiang Xiu said. Why should I go with you? His eyes didn't relax at all. He looked a little absent-minded. This made Yi Bing even more annoyed. Didn't you say that you wouldn't come? Now that you're here, why don't you behave? I'll ask Jiayong to introduce you to his relationship later. No matter how much Yi Bing disliked Jiang Xiu, she always hoped that he would be well in her heart. Wasn't it said that the worst thing in the world was for your ex to have a better life than you? Yi Bing didn't understand why she was so nice to him, but this guy didn't appreciate it. Did she fall into the category of being cheap? Yi Bing's imagination ran wild. If you're so rude here, be careful that the security guards don't chase you out. Come with me, they're all over there. This isn't a joke. I heard that the border guards of Jiangnan are all here. Jiang Xiu's eyes lit up when he heard this. Chapter 289. Jiang Xiu was worried that he wouldn't be able to catch the snake demon god, but Yi Bing's words reminded him. Jiang Xiu said, Jiangnan Frontier. Where is he? I want to see him. Yi Bing rolled her eyes in anger. Jiang Xiu, are you crazy? Jiang Xiu retorted. Do you have medicine? If this wasn't such a high-class occasion, Yi Bing would definitely beat him up. She was simply angered to death. Jiangnan's border governor is so respected. Is he someone you can meet just because you want to? Let alone Jiangnan's border governor, ordinary people wouldn't even be able to see the city secretary or town secretary. I say, Jiang Xiu, that's enough. Why didn't I realize you were such a hoodlum before? Jiang Xiu said. It's not too late to find out now. Yi Bing rolled her eyes at him and said, There aren't any in the Jiangnan frontier. If you really want to get acquainted, I'll have Jiayong introduce his cousin and uncle to you. His uncle is the Jiangnan Deputy Provincial Secretary. Although he isn't an official, he's already indescribably noble. A single word from him will be of great use to you in the future. If the Deputy Provincial Secretary of a province wanted to promote a young man, it was just a matter of words. Seeing that Jiang Xiu and Yi Bing were still chatting, Su Jiayong was a bit annoyed. He had no choice but to walk over and interrupt. What are you guys talking about? Don't stand in the middle. Let's go to the side. Such a conspicuous spot was usually reserved for important people. Yi Bing said. Jiang Xiu wants to see your uncle. Why don't you help introduce him? A deputy provincial secretary wasn't someone that anyone could introduce. At the very least, they had to be of a certain level. They could be young talents or outstanding entrepreneurs. It was impossible for them to meet you just because you had no merits. Jiang Xiu was the top scorer of the college entrance exam, and a top student of Imperial Capital University. He could be considered somewhat qualified. Su Jiayong glanced at Jiang Xiu. Him. His tone was full of disdain. He had already taken the opportunity to ask Lu Xiaoran just now. Lu Xiaoyan also wanted to have a good relationship with this rich young master, so she sold out Jiang Xiu and Yi Bing in minutes. Although Lu Xiaoran herself didn't know what the relationship between the two of them was, in Lu Xiaoyan's opinion, since they were in the same room like that, what other relationship could there be? Therefore, at this moment, Su Jiayong had already determined that Jiang Xiu was his ex. How could he feel comfortable with his girlfriend helping his ex like this? But sometimes, men just want to save face. They have to maintain their poise. So what if I introduce her to you? Can you use her? Just as he was about to agree, Jiang Xiu spoke first. He's not qualified to see me. Puff. Yi Bing had just drunk a mouthful of water and spat it out on the spot. What nonsense are you talking about? Jiang Xiu said. Officials of that level are indeed not qualified to see me. Lu Xiaoran and the others saw that they were chatting in the field and also came over. Some people on the side also looked over curiously. After all, Yi Bing's actions just now were a bit rude. Su Jiayong's face gradually turned red. What qualifications do you have to say such things? Just because you have a fruit stall in your house? The anger in his heart rushed straight to his head. F***CK. You can come here because of me. But now you dare to show off in front of me. Believe it or not, I'll call the security to kick you out right now. Yi Bing looked at Jiang Xiu with some astonishment. Seeing that his face was still calm and indifferent, she sighed in her heart. Is he angry that I got together with Su Jiayong? Can you blame me for this? I gave you a chance, but you gave it up yourself. Moreover, Su Jiayong was introduced by her family. As a good girl, she never knew how to disobey her family's arrangements. Jiang Xiu said, I don't believe it. Su Jiayong was so angry that she laughed. Pan Bo on the side said, Jiang Xiu, you're too much. Jiayong was kind enough to create such a good opportunity for you. It's fine if you don't thank her, but you're still here with so many people. That's too unkind of you. The other couple also said, That's right. Jiang Xiu, you can leave by yourself. Don't make things ugly. At this moment, a fat young man walked over. It was the cousin who came out to pick up Su Jiayong. What are you doing here? Hurry up and push them out. Gushu will come out soon. There was a hint of nervousness on his face. They were currently sitting in the most central seat. In a moment, Gushu would walk over here and say a few words to everyone. Su Jiayong said, Cousin, I have a situation here. This person is here to make trouble. Ask the security to coax him out, so that he won't offend Gushu. Yi Bing looked at Su Jiayong in shock, and found that the latter's face was livid with a trace of terrible gloominess. It seemed that Jiang Xiu had angered him. Yi Bing had never seen him like this. She wanted to say something, but she was scared back. Su Jiaxing frowned and glanced at Jiang Xiu. If you know what's good for you, you can leave by yourself. If you really want me to call the security, I'll throw you directly into the West Lake. Jiang Xiu said, You can try. Hey. Su Jiaxing didn't expect that Jiang Xiu would provoke him. His temper flared up, but the phone in his pocket rang. When he saw that it was his father, he hurriedly picked it up. Okay. After hanging up the phone, his expression changed greatly. Gushu is coming out. A group of people surrounded a middle-aged man in the distance. Wherever he went, there was a crowd of people. Although the people present were celebrities from all walks of life, when they faced the supreme power of Jiangnan, their performance was really shabby. Someone shouted, Gushu, they looked like fans. Gu Diji was very elegant. His footsteps were neither fast nor slow. He raised his hand and waved to the people present from time to time, just like a leader. It was really admirable. He was originally a very ordinary middle-aged man, but because of his status, his whole body seemed to emit dazzling brilliance. Power was a fatal poison. Today, Gu Diji was in an exceptionally good mood. He didn't know how big Jiang Xiu's influence was, but he knew that Jiang Xiu had an armed force outside of Pinghai. The underworld of Jiangnan followed his lead. Far away in Europe, Elysium had been uprooted by him. Many of Elysium's forces would fall into his hands. Perhaps Mr. Jiang could prolong his political life. In addition, Jiang Xiu also had to support the Gu family to continue to be in charge of Jiangnan. If all these things were done, the Gu family would have a chance to return to the grand occasion when his father was still alive. Oh, hello. Because of Gu Diji's appearance, the people present were very excited. The scene was a bit chaotic. Usually, this kind of situation was a good time to escape, so Jiang Xiu was more alert than before. This time, if the snake demon god appeared, he would definitely kill it in one blow. However, the demonic god's intelligence was indeed astonishing. He was also very calm, and did not reveal himself from the beginning to the end. He hid in the crowd. Jiang Xiu's gaze searched the crowd. Everyone seemed to be very excited. Their acting skills were also full marks. What are you still doing here? Get out of the way. Seeing Gu Diji walk over, Su Jiayong and the others had already retreated to the side, including his cousin and Yi Bing. But Jiang Xiu stood there, occupying the center of the crowd. What the hell? He offended Gushu. Let Gushu's people throw him out. He doesn't know any manners. Su Jiaxing turned around and glared at Su Jiayong. His eyes were telling him that this trouble was caused by him. Su Jiayong was even angrier. Jiang Xiu, come over here quickly. Gu Dezhi had already walked over, but Jiang Xiu was still standing there. It was really frightening. They were going to offend the Jiangnan frontier. Yi Bing's heart almost jumped out of her chest. She didn't dare to look and closed her eyes. They hadn't graduated from school yet, so they had never seen such a big scene before, let alone something like this. Do you have a death wish? Su Jiayong's eyes were exceptionally cold. At this time, everyone also noticed the abnormality because they all moved aside to let Gu Dezhi walk to the center. But they saw a young man standing there arrogantly. He stood there without moving, and Gu Shu walked to him. His attitude was even more arrogant than Gu Shu's. Who is he? What is he doing? Seeing this, the people protecting Gu Shu hurried to chase them away. Gu Dezhi looked up and also noticed the abnormality. He looked up and was stunned. Didn't they say they were going to Nanshan Temple? Why was he still here? Could it be that he was here to promote himself? Immediately, he smiled widely and jogged over to Jiang Xiu. He came to Jiang Xiu with excitement and nervousness. He politely shook Jiang Xiu's hand and bowed. Mr. Jiang. This time it was a big deal. Yi Bing, Su Jiayong, and the others were all stunned. Chapter 290. Everyone present had heard of Mr. Jiang's name, but only a few had seen Jiang Xiu. Almost everyone was shocked. They looked at the young man in front of them, who even the people of the Jiangnan frontier had to bow their heads to. He was Mr. Jiang? The dignitaries, rich people, young masters and young ladies present were all excited. They finally saw Mr. Jiang in person. Unlike the enthusiasm they had for Gu Dezhi, everyone present held their breath. It was said that the proud prince of Jiangnan was killed by Mr. Jiang on the spot. Mr. Jiang gave them the feeling that he was an emperor in ancient times who could directly decide their life and death. Naturally, the reverence they felt was very different. Whoever dared to offend him would face unimaginable consequences. Su Jiaxing and Su Jiayong were completely shocked. Their eyes were about to pop out. Su Jiayong turned to look at Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan. Didn't you say that he was your high school classmate? How could he be Mr. Jiang Luoxia? Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan were also confused. They were even more confused. They wondered if they had transmigrated. How could their high school classmate suddenly become Jiangnan's Jiang Lu? Yi Bing's head buzzed and went blank. Gu Dezhi said, "Didn't you say you were going to Nanshan Temple? Why didn't you tell me you were coming back? I could have gone to welcome you." Jiang Xiu said, "I'm here to do something." His gaze swept across the room. "Tell everyone, the men stand on the left and the women on the right." Although Gu Dezhi didn't understand, he supported Jiang Xiu's orders unconditionally. He immediately said, "Everyone, you heard Mr. Jiang's words, right? The men stand on the left and the women on the right. Stand properly." As soon as he finished speaking, the guests present were very cooperative. The men stood on the left and the women on the right as if they were undergoing military training. Jiang Xiu slowly walked in the middle. He pointed to the first girl and said, "Does anyone know her?" Some of the men on the opposite side raised their hands. This was the first time the snake demon god had transformed into a human. She could blend in with the crowd, but no one here recognized her. It was not difficult to distinguish her, even if she hid the smell of her own blood. What about her? Jiang Xiu eliminated them one by one. At the same time, he was very vigilant. He knew that the snake demon god was in danger of being captured by Jiang Xiu. She would not sit still and wait for death. However, when he scanned the faces of all the women present, they were still quite calm. He couldn't recognize them for a while. In order to prevent himself from making mistakes, Jiang Xiu also asked the man to recognize them. Of course, this included the service staff. As for Flying Dagger in the sky, he was also observing the battlefield. From the moment he had appeared until now, no one had left the battlefield. In other words, the snake demon god was definitely among the crowd. "Mr. Jiang, what are you?" Jiang Xiu didn't pay attention to him. When the distinguished guests present dispersed, the number of people walking back and forth seemed to be quite large. But in reality, The number of people in the line was not large at all. There were only about 30 girls, and it would take a few minutes to finish checking. The further he went, the more nervous he became. The last 7 people. 6 people. 5 people. Jiang Xiu's saber light, which was hanging in the sky, constantly burst forth with strong light. It was fiercer than ever before. Once he was sure, he would activate his saber pellet and kill with all his might. 3 people. The last 3 people might have sensed Jiang Xiu's killing intent. The 3 of them held each other's hands. Jiang Xiu said, "You know each other?" The 3 of them nodded in unison. A man opposite them said, "Mr. Jiang, they are my family members." "How is that possible?" Jiang Xiu's gaze became confused. Even if his cultivation had fallen to the level of a lower god, it was impossible for him to let a snake demon god of the same level slip away from under his nose. She must be among the crowd. Moreover, it was impossible to avoid this kind of elimination. Men, women, old, and young were all questioned, including the waiters. Mr. Jiang, and those few. Gu Dezhi pointed at Yi Bing and the others. Jiang Xiu looked over when he heard the voice. However, he shook his head and said, "I know them. It's not them." Yi Bing looked at Jiang Xiu, whom even Gu Dezhi had to serve honestly. Her gaze became unusually complicated. He was actually Jiang Luoxia, the most powerful person in Jiangnan. No wonder she was indifferent to the olive branch she had thrown out in school back then. She had always thought that she was the one who had given herself to Jiang Xiu. She didn't expect him to look down on her at all. After the shock, the young girl's heart suffered a huge blow. Her expression was very gloomy. She had a feeling that her love had died. Lu Xiaoyan didn't know what to say. She didn't even know that there was such a powerful backing for her. She even offended him with her words just now. He wouldn't hold a grudge, right? Meanwhile, the Su Jiayong brothers were trembling with fear. This was Jiang Luoxia. This was Jiang Luoxia. Back then, Crown Prince Ao's influence in Jiangnan was so great. If he wanted to kill, he would kill. Even the entire Jiangnan and the Jiang family were overturned. If he wanted to kill them, it would be like killing an ant. At this moment, Jiang Xiu wasn't in the mood to argue with them. The snake demon god had escaped from under his nose. This was definitely a huge humiliation to his spiritual cultivation. Moreover, he still believed that she should still be around. Another possibility appeared in Jiang Xiu's mind. That was, the snake demon god had already transformed and lived in human society for a period of time. She already knew the people here. If that was the case, then this method couldn't be used. Jiang Xiu whispered in Gu Dezhi's ear. "That monster is mixed in the crowd. Don't make a sound. She's injured and bleeding. Get someone to get a police dog with a better nose." Gu Dezhi's face turned pale when he heard this. He hurriedly nodded and ordered someone to do this. Jiang Xiu didn't speak. The people present naturally didn't dare to move, but they couldn't help whispering. They didn't know what had happened, but the atmosphere was a little tense. Gu Dezhi made a phone call, and the 2 best police dogs came. Police dogs were specially trained, and were particularly sensitive to the smell of blood. Jiang Xiu whispered something, and the police officer left with the police dogs. The police dog was very sensitive and immediately rushed over. Under the cover of the perfume, Jiang Xiu couldn't smell it. He had worked on many aspects of his spirit, but he hadn't put much effort into his nose. The knife pill was hanging in the sky. At this time, it once again burst out with light, ready to attack at any time. The police dog sniffed very quickly. It went from the first target to the last target, but it didn't find it. It didn't seem to give up. It didn't want to miss the rare opportunity to show off, so it sniffed back and forth again. As a result, it was depressed and stuck out its tongue. How could this be? Jiang Xiu was sure that there must be a smell of blood here, and the other party couldn't have cast a spell to hide it. As soon as it touched the sofa, Jiang Xiu, who was sensitive to magic, would definitely notice it immediately. "Mr. Jiang, are you sure the monster is still here?" Gu Dezhi asked carefully. Jiang Xiu nodded solemnly. He had followed the smell of blood all the way into the Shi Manor. The first thing he did was to use the knife pellet to monitor everything here. There was no way he would be wrong. And during the pursuit, the snake demon god had no time to play tricks. Is this police dog not good enough? Gudaji asked. The police officer said, "Sir, this is our best police dog." The police dog seemed to understand human language. It immediately went back and forth a few times, but in the end, it still didn't find anything. Finally, its attention fell on the grass. Along the way, it went to where Su Jiayong and the others were. It wagged its tail and walked back and forth in front of them. Yi Bing seemed to be a little afraid of the dog and tried to avoid it. However, the police dog stared at her. The police officer said to Gu Deji, "Sir, it might be this person." Yi Bing's beautiful face was gloomy. "I didn't do anything." She looked at Jiang Xiu pleadingly. Jiang Xiu said, "It can't be her. Wasn't this a joke?" Yi Bing was his high school classmate. Not only in this world, but also in his previous life. The police officer said, "The big gun can't be wrong." Jiang Xiu waved his hand and asked the police officer to take the police dog away. He naturally wouldn't believe the police officer's words. According to common sense, the police officer should be afraid of not performing well in front of the leader. There was no other way. He had already tried the last method. Jiang Xiu could only give up. "Okay, it's okay." Gudaji said, "Everyone continue. Those who should drink, drink, and those who should play, continue." Many people saw that the situation was resolved and wanted to come over and get close to Jiang Xiu. Not to mention anything else, it would be an honor to get to know him. However, Jiang Xiu was not in the mood to entertain them. Today, spiritual cultivation had a bit of a setback. Fortunately, no one knew. Chapter 291. Mr. Jiang, I'm the secretary of Ninghai City. Greetings, Mr. Jiang. I'm from the harbor pier. Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan sighed in disbelief as they watched the big shot. They usually looked up to bow and scrape before Jiang Xiu. Lu Xiaoyan said, "Jiang Xiu is actually Jiangnan's famous Mr. Jiang. How could this happen? Did you already know about this?" Yi Bing was even more shocked than her. She shook her head vigorously and stared at Jiang Xiu, unable to move her gaze away. There was a hint of resentment in the girl's eyes. This bastard had kept her in the dark for so long. Su Jiayong saw Yi Bing's dazed look and felt bad. "What, are you regretting it now?" Yi Bing retracted her gaze and lowered her head. Su Jiayong sneered. "Stop dreaming. Who is Jiang Luoxia? Half of Jiangnan is under his feet. Even Gu Shu doesn't dare to act rashly in front of him. Why would he look for you? Wang Xintong of the Zhongtian group, the eldest daughter of the Wang family, is only his maid. When would it be your turn?" Yi Bing raised her head. She remembered something. At that time, Jiang Xiu had been talking about servant girls all day long. He would sometimes revoke her qualifications as a servant girl, and sometimes restore her qualifications as a servant girl. It turned out that he was serious, but it was a pity that she had treated it as a joke. At this time, a middle-aged man in his 50s came to Jiang Xiu. Gu Deji introduced him. "Mr. Jiang, this is Jiangnan's deputy provincial secretary, Su Yuan Old Su." "Mr. Jiang, I've heard of your name for a long time. I've always wanted to ask Gu Shu to recommend me, but I never had the chance. Today, I finally got my wish." The man was very excited. He had just arrived in Jiangnan. If he wanted to establish a foothold here, he had to rely on Mr. Jiang's peer. Otherwise, he would be a soldier on the assembly line and would have to leave sooner or later. Jiang Xiu said, "You're Su Yuan?" Su Yuan's old face suddenly bloomed like a flower. He really didn't expect Jiang Xiu to know him. He didn't say a word to anyone in the crowd. This made him stand out from the crowd. Many people present looked at him enviously, which made him even more excited. Yes. Mr. Jiang actually knows me, I'm honored." Jiang Xiu smiled faintly. "Mr. Jiang, my son and nephew are also here today. They also really want to meet Mr. Jiang." Jiaxing Jiayong. Su Yuan was very excited. His Su family had stolen the limelight today. After today's banquet, everyone would know that he had hitched a ride on Mr. Jiang's big ship. No, a big ship, and was about to fly. The expressions on the two brothers' faces froze. They couldn't wait for Jiang Xiu to completely forget about them. They didn't expect Su Yuan to still call them. For a moment, their pores opened. "Come over and greet Mr. Jiang." The two of them braced themselves and walked over. Mr. Jiang. Jiang Xiu looked at the two of them coldly. So, you're the son and nephew of Deputy Provincial Secretary Su? Su Yuan said. Mr. Jiang has seen them before? These two brats don't have any big skills, but if Mr. Jiang asks them to do something small, they can still do it well. Jiang Xiu said. No, they're very capable. They said they would throw me into the West Lake. As soon as he said this, Su Yuan's smile froze. His whole body seemed to have been struck by lightning. Su Jiayong and his brother's faces were ashen, and their bodies trembled. Gu Dizhi frowned. Jiang Xiu was his guest. Not only did they offend Jiang Xiu, but they also caused him, the host, to fail in his hospitality. He said angrily, Old Su. They knew how important Jiang Luoxia was. Su Yuan was already at a loss. He had just been transferred to Jiangnan. He was only the third in command in Guangling. He was not from a rich family. He thought that the third in Guangling was the limit. He didn't expect that something big had happened in Jiangnan, and there were many vacancies. That was why he was transferred. Everything was going well, but at this moment he felt that the whole world was gloomy. The reason was his ignorant son and nephew. The next moment he was also furious. Throw these two into the West Lake. Dad. Uncle. The two of them screamed miserably. It was winter now. At the end of the year, even if they didn't drown, they would probably freeze to death. Even if they didn't freeze to death, they would lose a layer of skin. Throw them into the center of the lake. Su Yuan said fiercely. The harsher the punishment, the better Mr. Jiang's anger would be. It was not sincere at all to punish them. Instead, it would anger Mr. Jiang even more. However, they had offended Mr. Jiang. It was good enough that they could protect Wu Sha. It was impossible for them to have a good career in Jiangnan. These two bastards. Su Yuan cried in his heart. In the distance, Lu Xiaoyan pulled Yi Bing and said, Let's go and say hello to Jiang Xiu. We are classmates. Now that he is so successful, he should take care of us. Yi Bing stood still. If you want to go, you go. I'm not going. Lu Xiaoyan said angrily. Miss, why are you throwing a tantrum? Didn't you have a good relationship with Jiang Xiu before? What's wrong? You don't want to go? There is only one chance. Let's go and chat with Jiang Xiu now, and drink a few glasses of wine. All the rich and powerful people in Jiangnan have seen us. When the time comes, who wouldn't want to get to know us? I don't think I need to tell you how beneficial it will be to our future. Yi Bing still stood still with a taut face. Oh miss, what do you want? Yi Bing said. You go. I'll pass. If Jiang Xiu was still the old Jiang Xiu, she could face him calmly. She felt that Jiang Xiu had made a mistake. However, after she found out that the result was not like that, her self-esteem still prevailed. In fact, Yi Bing was not a very ambitious girl. This was related to her family background. Her family background was outstanding, and she had lived a life of luxury since she was young. Since she was young, the condition of her family was to be obedient. She felt that if she could do this, then her life was already 70 or 80 points. She would not think too much. The only thing she persisted in was love. However, she had suffered a setback in her love life. Well, it wasn't exactly a setback. In fact, it was because her ability to withstand blows was too weak. Failing a confession or falling out of love was something anyone would encounter. People like her who had such an intense reaction and chose to escape were those with weaker hearts. Perhaps in the depths of her heart, she was still hoping that Jiang Xiu would come and coax her. Then I'll go. Lu Xiaoyan was only from an ordinary family. She did not want to miss such an opportunity, so she went with her boyfriend. When Jiang Xiu saw them coming, he smiled. They had been classmates for 3 years, so he still cared about their friendship. He turned his head to look at Yi Bing and smiled. What's the matter? Lu Xiaoyan suddenly felt that the Jiang Xiu in front of her was very unfamiliar. That feeling of being high and mighty made Lu Xiaoyan feel a strong sense of urgency. She became a little nervous, and her palms were sweating. Her boyfriend, Pan Bo, was even more nervous and at a loss. Gu Dizhi said, Mr. Jiang, these two are? Jiang Xiu said, classmates. After entering society, the relationship between classmates sounded closer than friends. This made Lu Xiaoran very happy. Standing in front of them was Mr. Jiang and the Jiangnan frontier, and they were only ordinary students. Jiang Xiu said, "Why isn't Yi Bing coming?" Lu Xiaoyan said, "Her? Don't you know her?" Jiang Xiu smiled. In his mind, he remembered the scene of the police dog surrounding Yi Bing. He said, "Oh right, was Yi Bing with you all the time?" Lu Xiaoyan nodded instinctively. Her boyfriend, Pan Bo, said, "Didn't Yi Bing go to the washroom? Jia Yong has been looking for her, but she's nowhere to be seen." Lu Xiaoyan said, "Oh yes, Yi Bing just went to the washroom." In the distance, Yi Bing was a little nervous. Perhaps it was because she was the only one left. She was a little unnatural. Her slender hands were rubbing nervously. She seemed to be a little cold, and her delicate body was curled up. Jiang Xiu lowered his head and pondered. It should be impossible. The snake demon god's transformation was not something that could be transformed into whatever form it wanted. This had a lot to do with the snake demon god itself. In modern terms, it was determined by genes. There was no reason for Yi Bing to be the snake demon god. He walked towards Yi Bing. Chapter 292. Seeing Jiang Xiu coming over, Yi Bing was very unnatural. She reached out to tuck her hair, which was a little messy from the night wind, behind her ears, revealing her almost perfect snow-white side profile. From the side, her nose bridge was very high and very cute. Her long black eyelashes fluttered gently like butterfly wings due to nervousness, making her look very lovable. Jiang Xiu came to her side and smelled the delicate fragrance of a young girl in the wind. Yi Bing's long hair floated with the wind, gently hitting Jiang Xiu's face. It was very seductive. Yi Bing quickly tucked her hair behind her ears again. The wind was stronger by the lake. Jiang Xiu said, "Did you use perfume before?" Yi Bing said, "Why would I use perfume in high school? Besides, I've never used perfume before, and I'm not using it now." The girl deeply despised Jiang Xiu from the bottom of her heart. "This is the smell of shampoo." Jiang Xiu was very embarrassed. He laughed at himself in his heart. Was he too suspicious? He had already treated Yi Bing as a suspect, so he made such a joke. "It's quite fragrant." He smoothed things over for himself. Yi Bing's pretty face was slightly hot. She scolded him in her heart. Wasn't he openly flirting with her? He was used to being a hooligan in high school. Now that he had achieved so much, he was still like this. He really couldn't change that. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jiang Xiu said. "Tell you what?" Yi Bing's eyes widened and said, "You're Mr. Jiang." She thought that Jiang Xiu deliberately hid it from her. Jiang Xiu said, "Yi Liang knows about this." Yi Bing said, "My dad knows?" Her already big eyes widened. She was very surprised. Then her gaze became a little dim. Knowing that Jiang Xiu had something to do with her, and even sent her abroad, it was obvious that her parents didn't want her and Jiang Xiu to have any relationship. Jiang Xiu said, "Oh right, your college entrance exam results were good. How much did you get?" Yi Bing said unhappily, "More than 700. She had always been proud of this. "You're first in class and I'm second in class." Jiang Xiu thought to himself. She even remembers my college entrance examination score, so she definitely can't be the snake demon god. Besides, it's impossible for the snake demon god to look exactly like Yi Bing after transforming. We are classmates. If you have any trouble in the future that your parents can't help you with, you can come to me. Jiang Xiu still remembered their old friendship. Yi Bing said, "Why would I look for you?" "Resentment, a lot of resentment." Jiang Xiu said, "It's up to you whether you want to come or not." With that, he didn't plan to stay here any longer. The snake demon god had disappeared, but he was still heavily injured and wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. He didn't even dare to stay in Jiangnan. He walked towards the door and turned back to look deeply at Yi Bing. A thought flashed through his mind. Had Yi Bing already been a snake demon god since the first time he saw her? Had Yi Bing always been a demon god and not a human? However, this absurd idea was quickly dismissed by him. "Goodbye, Mr. Jiang." Seeing Jiang Xiu leave, Lu Xiaoyan ran over and asked with concern, "Yi Bing, what did he say to you?" Yi Bing said, "He didn't say anything. He just said that I can look for him if I have any trouble in the future. Lu Xiaoyan looked at her ambiguously. There are so many rich people here who would risk their lives in exchange for Mr. Zhang's words, but he took the initiative to say it to you. He even said that he still has feelings for you. Yi Bing blushed. What nonsense are you talking about? I have a boyfriend. That's Su Jiayong. Lu Xiaoyan looked at her with disdain. He's just a facade. Besides, his Su family offended Mr. Jiang, and you're still friends with him. If you're willing, why wouldn't he dare? He's trying to steal a girl from Mr. Jiang. Is he tired of living? Yi Bing stomped her foot angrily. Why is he so overbearing? What does he take me for? Lu Xiaoyan said, because he's Mr. Jiang. That's enough. My dear Mississippi, don't live in bliss. There are so many noble ladies here who aren't inferior to your family, and they're not inferior to you in terms of looks. If Jiang Xiu beckons with his finger, they'll definitely climb on top of him. Yi Bing raised her chin proudly and said, other people want him, but I don't like him. Other people are afraid of him, but I'm not afraid of him. Lu Xiaoyan said, I want him, but I'm afraid. Can't you think about your sister? That's Mr. Jiang. Do you know how many people asked me for my business card just now? Unfortunately, I don't even have one, so I could only reject them one by one. After the new year, I plan to set up an investment company or something. I'll let Pan Bo set up an IT company. Lu Xiaoyan's eyes were full of longing for the future. I'll have to rely on you. Yi Bing was so angry that she glared at her. For your own glory and wealth, you dare to betray your best sister. Lu Xiaoyan smiled and held Yi Bing's hand. Good sisters are used to betray each other. Yi Bing heard this and felt righteous. Lu Xiaoyan said, he told you to look for him when you're in trouble. It's just a saying. You can look for him when you're not in trouble. For example, if your phone runs out of battery or you forgot to bring your wallet when you went shopping. Pan Bo interrupted and said, is Mr. Jiang that free? Shut up. Why is your man interrupting when a woman is talking? You're just a piece of wood. Lu Xiaoyan said fiercely, not giving her boyfriend any face. Pan Bo shut his mouth in embarrassment. His girlfriend was angry, so he didn't dare to talk back. See? Men are just so cheap. Yi Bing, listen to me. When Jiang Xiu returned home, Lin Yueling was waiting at home. When she saw him, she came over and asked, Son, what did Gu Shu say? Jiang Xiu said, Gu Shu has his own plans. Lin Yueling couldn't help but look regretful. She said, they're still waiting for us. Is there nothing we can do? Jiang Xiu said, the Lin family has a big business. What can we do to help? Lin Yueling revealed a helpless expression. After all, there were only a few such high positions in the entire Hua nation, and they were all fixed. Many rich and powerful families had their eyes on them, and even the fishing platforms had to weigh the pros and cons. She also felt that she was asking too much of Jiang Xiu. It's getting late. Why isn't Su back yet? Jiang Xiu shook his head. Just as he was talking, a taxi arrived at the door. A young girl got out of the car. Who else could it be other than Su? However, she wasn't the only one who came back. There were two other girls, Ouyingqian and Li Dan. Wow, this is the legendary Jiang Yuan. Ouyingqian and Li Dan were dazzled. What? This is Su's home. Yes. Oh my god, it's just like the palace. They walked in and couldn't help but exclaim. Jiang Yuan was indeed the emperor's summer palace during the Song dynasty. They didn't go back to Jiangqing during the school holidays. They had to find a place to stay. As old classmates, they had a conflict, but didn't they reconcile now? She should take them in. Moreover, they took the initiative to ask and beg. Su had no choice but to agree. If Jiang Xiu was alone at home, she wouldn't dare. Wasn't her mother-in-law here too? With someone supporting her, Su's back became stronger. The woman who asked her to wash the clothes last time saw her return and said, Young madam, old madam and sir are having dinner in the dining room. They want you to go over. Su responded and brought them over. Ouyingqian and Li Dan became nervous when they heard that they were going to see Jiang Xiu. They were afraid of Jiang Xiu from the bottom of their hearts. My mother-in-law is here. It's okay. Su comforted them. Walking into the dining room, Lin Yueling saw that Cheng Lingsu had brought two friends back. She immediately smiled and said, "There are guests." "Hello, Auntie." The two women were respectful and obedient. Jiang Xiu ate by himself with a trace of terrible coldness in his eyes. This woman really didn't learn from her mistakes. Did she forget how they treated her? "Welcome, welcome," Lin Yueling said. "Su Su doesn't have many friends in Hangzhou. I was worried that she would be bored. It's great that you came to accompany her. Are you hungry?" "Yes." Cheng Lingsu had already answered for them. "Ask the kitchen to make something delicious." Lin Yueling ordered the servants. Ouyang Qian and Li Dan sat down under Cheng Lingsu's signal. They found that the things they were sitting on were old things made of red sandalwood from the Ming and Qing dynasties. They could be sold for millions. This was the emperor's bedroom. Everything was made according to the emperor's standards. Cheng Lingsu sat beside Jiang Xiu and explained softly, "I didn't ask them to come. They insisted on coming." Chapter 293. Jiang Xiu remembered something. He put down his chopsticks and looked at Cheng Lingsu. "I remember that you're friends with Yi Bing, right?" Ouyang Qian and Li Dan couldn't help but look at Cheng Lingsu. Today they met Yi Bing by the West Lake. Could it be that Mr. Jiang had something to do with Yi Bing? Cheng Lingsu said, "Yeah, why did you suddenly mention her?" Jiang Xiu said, "When did you know each other?" Cheng Lingsu said, "It's a coincidence. We were in the same junior high school, and then went to the same high school, but we were never in the same class." "Why? Did you meet her today?" Jiang Xiu said, "Yes. Did anything strange happen to her before? For example, she suddenly stopped coming to school, or other things that don't happen to ordinary people?" Cheng Lingsu thought about it and shook her head. After Jiang Xiu came back, he had been thinking about the snake demon god. He tried to recall what had happened just now. He always thought that the snake demon god couldn't escape from under his nose, and the only one who could was Yi Bing. The police dog smelled blood on Yi Bing's body. Jiang Xiu got up and went back to his room. Ouyang Qian asked carefully, "Su Su, will Mr. Jiang be angry if we come here?" Cheng Lingsu said, "That won't happen. It's all in the past. He won't take it to heart." After a while, the dishes were served in the kitchen. Even though it was late at night, the kitchen still made a table of delicious food. The standard was no worse than that of a five-star hotel. Jiang Xiu took out his phone and called Lu Xiaoyan. "Lu Xiaoyan, where is Yi Bing living now?" Lu Xiaoyan said, "Yi Bing has a home in Hangzhou. Is she in her own house?" Jiang Xiu said, "Give me the address." Of course, Lu Xiaoyan betrayed Yi Bing without any hesitation. Jiang Xiu returned to the quiet room and sat down cross-legged. Light flashed in front of his eyes. His blade flashed and glided across the sky of Hangzhou, surrendering to the distant starry sky. The flying sword hovered in a villa area not far from the West Lake. Yi Bing's room was still lit up. Yi Bing's beautiful face was locked, and there were large beads of sweat on her forehead. There was a bright red mark on her snow-white shoulder. A woman was sitting beside her. "Bing Bing, you fell so hard. Why were you so careless?" Yi Bing said, "It's dark, I didn't notice." She pursed her lips, her clear eyes filled with tears. When the woman saw her daughter's pitiful appearance, her heart ached so much that her expression changed. She wished that the wound was on her own body and not her daughter's. "Apply some medicine. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. If it doesn't work, we'll go to the hospital for an X-ray." As soon as the woman's hand touched Yi Bing's fair shoulder, Yi Bing screamed in pain. The woman was so scared that her hand trembled. "You scared me to death. Bear with it." Yi Bing said, "It's dark, the street lights aren't bright enough." The woman said angrily, "Mom will complain to the property management tomorrow. The property management fees for a year are so expensive, and you still want to save on electricity. Where else did you fall?" Yi Bing said, "My foot slipped and I fell flat on my face. My shoulder hit the stairs and my butt hurts quite a bit." "Let Mom see." Yi Bing's pretty face turned red. The woman said, "Why are you still shy with Mom?" Just outside the window, there was a sword ball hanging, emitting a faint light. The woman didn't care if she agreed or not, and lifted the blanket. It was very cold outside, but the room was very warm. Even if she lifted the blanket, she wouldn't feel cold. Yi Bing was lying on the bed, and her perky butt was exposed to the air. She had a standard gourd butt, and it was very beautiful. Under the light it was dazzling. However, there was a similar bruise on it. It's not light. Yi Bing couldn't bear to see it. Hearing this, she almost cried. Mom, it hurts. Bear with it. Mom will rub the bruise open. The light on the sword couldn't help but brighten a little. It seemed to be a little excited and even flew forward a little. It was very timid, just like the spiritual cultivation. It hurts, it hurts. The woman said, bear with it. Mom can't bear to do it because you're screaming. If I don't rub it open, it won't heal. If it turns into a blood clot, you won't be able to wear bikinis in the future. Her words were quite effective. Yi Bing immediately stopped screaming. Bing Bing, how are you and Jia Yong? What do you mean? The woman said, your dad said that if he thinks it's suitable, he will help the two of you get engaged. After you graduate from university, you will get married. Don't think that mom is rushing you. It's not wrong to listen to your elders. Many people think that they are young and it's still early. In reality, it takes 3 years to get a boyfriend, and after breaking up, you have to recuperate for a year. Yi Bing bit her red lips. Mom, I don't like him. The woman said. Child, what nonsense are you talking about? Feelings are slowly cultivated. As long as your family is compatible and he treats you well, it's fine. Yi Bing said. But he won't be with me anymore. Why? The woman even forgot to rub the bruise. Mom, I can see that Jia Yong likes you a lot. Her daughter wasn't considered a beauty that could cause the downfall of a city, but it wasn't far off. With such beauty, there weren't many men who didn't like her. Anyway, I don't want to get engaged with him. The woman said, are you still thinking about that classmate of yours from high school? Yi Bing said unhappily, who would think about him? Then get along well with Jia Yong. I won't. Pa. The woman slapped her little but hard. Yi Bing screamed in pain and tears almost fell. Mom, my injury hasn't healed yet. Serves you right. Who told you not to be careful when you walk? Outside the secret room, there was a knock on the door. Jiang Xiu had no choice but to open his eyes and withdraw his magic. Who is it? In his heart he thought, what a coincidence. Did she fall? But was there a need to act in his own house? Or was she still alive? Did she guess that he would see her? Cheng Lingsu's gentle voice came from outside the secret room. Jiang Xiu, Mom said that the weather is cold. She wants you to go back to your room and sleep. Don't stay in the secret room. Jiang Xiu also knew that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of his surveillance. He stood up and left the secret room. Where are your two friends? Cheng Lingsu said. I've already arranged for them to stay. Jiang Xiu took off his coat and handed it to Cheng Lingsu. Wash this and go to the river to wash it. After washing it, I'll wear it tomorrow. Cheng Lingsu said. Didn't you just change your clothes today? Jiang Xiu pointed at the barely visible dirt on it. I accidentally dripped it on when I was eating supper. Remember to wash it with your hands. Cheng Lingsu frowned and said, is tomorrow okay? It's so cold. I'm very sleepy. Jiang Xiu said, okay. Cheng Lingsu was overjoyed. She carefully thought about it. This bastard's words were obviously sarcastic. Ouyang Qian and Li Dan came to the house. He was deliberately punishing her. If she didn't wash it, the two of them would probably be thrown out. Let's do today's thing today. How could today be today? It was already past midnight. Seeing Jiang Xiu walk into the bedroom, Su took his clothes and said to herself, sleeping right after eating supper is easy to get fat. Washing clothes is also good. However, it was really cold. She came to the river and felt the cold wind. Looking at the cold river, she felt as if it was about to freeze. She bitterly gritted her teeth and persevered. Her mouth cursed Jiang Xiu 100 times. Temperamental and unpredictable. If someone like you was in a TV series, you definitely wouldn't survive past one episode. In the distant attic, Wang Xintong wore thick pajamas and leaned against the window. She watched Cheng Lingsu wash clothes by the river and couldn't help but be moved. You met that big devil. Don't think about living a good life. There was still one person who didn't sleep, and that was Lin Yueling. She was still worried about Gu Shu's matter. However, she saw that Cheng Lingsu not only didn't return to the bedroom, but also went to the river. Worried that it wasn't safe for her to go to the river at night, she put on her clothes and walked over. Su, what are you doing here? Cheng Lingsu said. I'm washing clothes here. Lin Yueling recognized that it was Jiang Xiu's clothes. It's so cold. Leave it to wash tomorrow. No, Jiang Xiu. Today's matter should be done today. Looking at this beautiful daughter-in-law, Lin Yueling's heart was moved. Tears almost fell. Good girl, good girl. It's so cold, but she actually helped her son wash clothes in the middle of the night. That brat is really lucky. Chapter 294. Lin Yueling didn't know that this was Jiang Xiu's punishment for Cheng Lingsu. Jiang Xiu was determined to force Cheng Lingsu to divorce. Of course, he wouldn't let her have a good day. It's okay. Cheng Lingsu didn't have the heart to do it at first, but Lin Yueling came and immediately slipped away. There are stains on it. If I don't wash it today, it won't come off. Lin Yueling nodded. Now that the family's life was better, a piece of clothing didn't cost much. However, Lin Yueling had experienced the ups and downs of life. She was no longer the Miss Lin of the past. She knew how to be thrifty and appreciated Cheng Lingsu's thriftiness. You're so sensible. Lin Yueling gathered her clothes and sat down on a rock by the river. Su, the family's situation is better now, and I'm used to being busy. I'm not used to being idle all of a sudden. Cheng Lingsu turned around and smiled. Mom, what do you want to do? Do some business? Lin Yueling smiled and said, Silly girl. Mom is still playing dumb with me. Cheng Lingsu blinked her big eyes and looked at her blankly. I really don't know. Lin Yueling smiled. You sly girl. Mom will be frank with you. Mom has been complaining all day. I just need a child to take care of me. Do you understand now? Mom is waiting to hold a grandson. Whoosh. Cheng Lingsu's pretty face turned red. Mom, what are you talking about? She didn't know that second Miss Cheng was still a virgin. I'm still in school. Lin Yueling said. What's wrong with that? You're already married to minor repairs. You can give birth to a big fat baby for the Jiang family first. Then you can continue to study. It's okay. This kind of thing was very common in rich families. In a marriage of benefits, both parties didn't feel anything. The reason why it was reliable was because of the offspring. Once there were offspring, many things would change. Therefore, there were many who gave birth early and gave birth early. Cheng Lingsu's pretty face became redder and redder. This kind of thing was too shy for her to hear. Her skin was thin, so she whispered, This is not something I can do alone. He said it to himself, but unexpectedly, in the dead of night, his voice was so clear that Lin Yueling heard it. She was overjoyed. As long as you agree, I'll take care of that brat. Hearing this, Cheng Lingsu stood up nervously. She didn't know that she was by the river. It was cold in winter, and the ground was wet and slippery. She slipped and fell into the river. She was so scared that she screamed. Ah! Lin Yueling wanted to grab her, but it was too late. She could only watch her fall into the river. Someone help. Cheng Lingsu was a woman from Jiangnan. Of course, she knew how to swim. She used to have a swimming pool at home, but it was too cold today. As soon as she entered the water, it was bone-chilling. Her clothes were thick, so she couldn't stretch her arms and legs. She struggled in the water. Help! Su fell into the water. Lin Yueling shouted at the top of her lungs, but there was no one around the river. She looked around and hurriedly broke off a branch. She wanted Cheng Lingsu to hold the branch, but the branch wasn't long enough. The huge panic in her heart and the bone-chilling river made Cheng Lingsu's legs twitch. Her face changed. Not good, she had a cramp. This was killing her. The more afraid she was, the easier it was for her to have an accident. She sank into the river. But at this time, her eyes burst out with a strong white light. She found that the river was very shallow. She stood still when she stepped on it. In fact, the river was not shallow, but the river under her feet instantly turned into ice, allowing her to step on it safely. Jiang Xiu, who had fallen asleep, seemed to hear something. He suddenly opened his eyes. Help! His face changed. It was his mother's voice. With a whoosh, Jiang Xiu directly turned into white smoke, penetrated the wall, and flew toward the river. Su Su fell into the water. Cheng Lingsu saw Jiang Xiu flying in the air. She thought that she was saved. She felt relieved. The ice under her feet seemed to lose its strength, and instantly turned into water. Cheng Lingsu sank into the water. So troublesome. Jiang Xiu frowned and also dived into the water. Under the ripples of the moonlight, Jiang Xiu swam down like a fish. Cheng Lingsu's eyes were closed, and she seemed to have fainted. Minor repairs. Su Su. Lin Yueling was so anxious that cold sweat broke out on her forehead. The water splashed everywhere. Jiang Xiu carried Cheng Lingsu out of the water and landed on the shore. Lin Yueling hurried over. Seeing that Cheng Lingsu was unconscious, she said nervously, "How is Su Su?" Jiang Xiu saw that Cheng Lingsu had not been in the water for long. "She won't die," Lin Yueling said. "It's so cold. Don't let her get sick. Quick, carry her back." Okay. Jiang Xiu carried Cheng Lingsu and rushed into the house. But when he looked back at the river, he saw some fine ice foam at the bottom of the river. This was very abnormal. Even if the weather was cold, the river would be the first to freeze. What's more, the current temperature was far from freezing. After entering the house, the air conditioning was very warm. Lin Yueling hurriedly took off Cheng Lingsu's clothes. Seeing that Jiang Xiu was standing there indifferently, she said anxiously, "Brat, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and help." "Ha. What ha? If you don't take off her clothes, Su Su will definitely get sick. Girls can't be cold. It's easy to get problems from the cold." Lin Yueling said, "She's my wife. What's there to be afraid of? Today was really first at Yi Bing's house, and now at his own house. Is it because Mom is here that you feel uncomfortable? Okay, you do it." Lin Yueling had already taken off second Miss Cheng's clothes before she realized this problem. Before leaving, she said, "Hurry up and take a hot towel to warm up your body. I'll go to the kitchen to make some ginger soup." Lin Yueling said and hurriedly left. "Mom." Jiang Xiu was stunned. Looking at Cheng Lingsu, who was stuffed into his arms by his mom, he didn't know what to do. "You actually want me to serve you?" Jiang Xiu's face was ashen. But there was nothing he could do. If his mom came back with the ginger soup and he didn't take care of her, he might be reprimanded. He ran into the bathroom and took a hot towel to help her wipe her body. In his previous life, it was hatred. In this life, it was disgust. His feelings towards Cheng Lingsu were all negative. In the end, he couldn't jump out of this circle. He could forgive Cheng Hanlin, but he couldn't let go of Cheng Lingsu, let alone accept her. However, no man would be able to stop himself from wiping the body of a young girl, who was as white as a silkworm. It was so good that he wanted to fly. Jiang Xiu felt that her body temperature was rising. Only then did he stop wiping her body. He pulled the blanket over her and covered her. After he was done, Lin Yueling pushed the door open and entered. "How is Su Su?" Seeing Cheng Lingsu lying on the bed, her cheeks were red. "She hasn't woken up yet." Lin Yueling touched her forehead. "Oh, it's so hot. Is her body temperature rising?" Jiang Xiu said, "It's possible." "Do you want to send her to the hospital?" Jiang Xiu said, "It's not necessary." "Su Su, Su Su." Lin Yueling called out a few times. Cheng Lingsu slowly woke up in a daze. Lin Yueling was overjoyed and hurriedly fed her ginger soup. "It's okay. Drink some ginger soup and sweat a little." Cheng Lingsu naturally remembered that she had fallen into the water just now. "You scared me to death." Lin Yueling was really scared out of her wits. Especially when Cheng Lingsu couldn't reach the branch. She was so anxious that she almost jumped in herself. However, she was a northern woman and didn't know how to swim. Seeing Cheng Lingsu drink a big bowl of ginger soup, she breathed a sigh of relief. "Okay, go to sleep. You'll be fine when you wake up tomorrow. Minor repairs. Keep an eye on her. If anything happens, come and call Mom." Jiang Xiu nodded, and then followed Lin Yueling out. He wanted to leave some time for Cheng Lingsu to find a change of clothes to wear. Cheng Lingsu didn't realize her situation. Her eyes fell on the glass of water at the bedside. The glass was half full. As her eyes fell on it, the water began to freeze at a speed visible to the naked eye, and it even made a crackling sound. Not long after, Cheng Lingsu heard Jiang Xiu's footsteps. Seeing that the floor beside the bed was full of her clothes, she lifted the quilt and looked. Whoa, she was naked. She hurriedly jumped out of bed and hurriedly put on her pajamas. She took all her clothes to the bathroom and wiped the water stains on the floor. She shrank back under the quilt, but her face was red. She was wondering who took off her clothes. Jiang Xiu pushed the door open and entered again. Chapter 295. After Jiang Xiu entered the room, he observed Cheng Lingsu's face. It was bright red and she was very shy. A young girl's shyness was even more moving, but Jiang Xiu's face was cold. Seeing Jiang Xiu's cold expression, Cheng Lingsu felt that the one who changed her clothes was unlikely to be Jiang Xiu. It should be Lin Yueling. Her shyness gradually faded. Our second Miss Cheng would never have thought that old demon Jiang would feel that he had lowered himself by serving her for no reason. As for the matter of seeing her naked, it was the king's honor to see her naked. Yes, that's right, it was a gift. His gaze swept across the floor. The soaked clothes had all been taken away, and even the floor had been wiped dry. He reckoned that there shouldn't be any urgent matters to attend to. He opened his mouth and said, "Wash the clothes tomorrow." Cheng Lingsu suddenly let out a yelp. Jiang Xiu asked, "What's the matter?" Cheng Lingran shook her head. She didn't dare to say anything. If she did, she would be in big trouble. A trace of panic flashed through her eyes. She hurriedly lay down, her beautiful eyes flickering with uncertainty. She recalled that when she fell into the water, Jiang Xiu's clothes seemed to have fallen into the water. If old demon Jiang knew that she had lost his clothes, who knew what he would do to her? However, she suddenly felt an urge to pee. Su hurriedly got up and ran towards the washroom. Jiang Xiu was a bit absent-minded at the sight of her beautiful back. The two sisters were really too similar, not only in appearance but also in figure. Although Cheng Lingsu was 2 years younger than Cheng Lingran and more mature, Cheng Lingran 2 years later would still be the Cheng Lingran of today. Wang Xintong's words kept appearing in Jiang Xiu's mind. The two sisters were too similar. Could you be mistaken? The next morning, Su woke up late. However, Ouyang Qian and Li Dan woke up even later. These two were the daughters of the family, and were spoiled to no end. It was the holidays and the weather was cold, so of course they were comfortable in their beds. When she arrived at the dining room, Lin Yueling saw her and asked, Su, are you feeling better? Cheng Lingsu said, I'm fine. It's good to be young. Lin Yueling saw that her complexion was normal, and also breathed a sigh of relief. If it were Mom who fell into the river, she would probably get sick immediately. Cheng Lingsu came to Lin Yueling's side, and held Lin Yueling's hand coquettishly. She was now very good at this. Mom is also very young. She is as beautiful as a flower. When people were old, they liked to be told that they were young. Lin Yueling smiled and gently patted Cheng Lingsu's beautiful face. The more she looked at her, the more she liked her. She was beautiful, sensible, and knew how to coax the elders. Where could she find such a daughter-in-law? However, she sighed in her heart. In the morning she also got up so early. It was a call from the capital that asked them to go back for the new year. However, at that time, the Lin family also arranged a marriage for Jiang Xiu. She couldn't help but feel some pressure. After breakfast, Cheng Lingsu brought the two of them out. She couldn't wait for the mall to open so that she could buy the same clothes as the one she had thrown away yesterday. Su, you are really a filial wife now. Li Dan teased. It's like this after marriage. Ouyang Qian said in an experienced tone. Cheng Lingsu was surrounded by the two girls, but her face was pale. She let out a long sigh. How would you know? I don't want to talk about it. If I couldn't find the same clothes to fool them, then I would be in trouble. Cheng Lingsu certainly couldn't find the same clothes. However, Lin Yueling saw that Gu Shu's matter couldn't be settled for a while, so she wanted to go back to Jiang City. The new year was coming in a few days. She had to get together quickly and rush back to the capital for the new year. Now Jiang Yi was the only one in the family who was busy. Everyone had to accommodate him. After returning to Jiang City, Jiang Xiu went to the East Continent to meet his childhood nanny, Aunt Xiang, and his former playmates. Then he waited for Jiang Yi for 2 days. After Jiang Yi finished his work, the whole family left for the capital. According to Lin Yueling and Sun Xiaohong's original plan, Jiang Xiu and Cheng Lingsu would hold the wedding at the end of the year. However, the intervention of the Lin family disrupted everything. Lin Yueling hoped to hold the wedding after returning to the Lin family. At that time, her relatives could also come. That would be perfect. A woman who could cause trouble made a scene in her room and smashed things. She was a famous business genius in the capital. She had her own entertainment company and advertising company. However, these achievements were nothing compared to her family. She was Zhuo Yuchen, the legitimate daughter of the Zhuo family in the capital. Different from Long Yingqing, she had graduated from college and made a name for herself in the upper-class circle of the capital. In addition, she opened an entertainment company and had a little exposure in front of the media. She was a famous, beautiful boss. Which boss in the entertainment circle wasn't fat? Suddenly, such a charming and beautiful boss appeared. It was really like a bluestone flow, making the whole entertainment circle beautiful. However, she didn't look like a rich girl at all. She smashed all the furnishings on the table. None of the employees outside the door dared to go in. They had never seen the boss like this. They were so scared that their liver was trembling. What's wrong today? A fashionable beauty in her 30s came in. She had short hair that was dyed the color of coffee. Her lips were flaming red. And she was wearing a compact business suit. Sister Yu, what era do you think it is now? There is actually such a stupid thing as a prenatal marriage. It's too funny. I didn't know about it since I was young. Now you suddenly tell me that you have a fiancé. Zui Yuchen was so angry that her face turned pale. I don't even know who he is or what he looks like. How can they do this? This is the regression of society and the degeneration of human beings. No matter how angry she was, her frown and smile were still so stunning that it made people's hearts beat faster. Especially her lazy temperament. There was a feeling that she had experienced wind and frost at a young age. Sister, you looked at the broken decorations on the carpet. My young miss, isn't it just an engagement? What's the big deal? Why are you so angry? The things here are not cheap. Our budget for next year has increased for nothing. Zhuo Yuchen angrily sat down on the chair and said, It's easy for you to say. This time it's not my parents who said it. It's my grandfather. In this family, my grandfather will never take back his words. Between her lazy brows, there was a hint of worry, which made people feel tender affection for her. Sister, you said, then let's get married. Zui Yuchen's eyes widened. What did you say? Sister, you said. If you can't go against it, you can only obey. Didn't the family carry out genetic research? They said that a new ecology will be formed. When the time comes, the strong and the weak, the poor and the rich will be redefined. The other party might not be able to hold on. Zhuo Yuchen said. Grandpa asked me to meet him within the year. That means he wants me to be prepared for marriage. It's simply a joke, Sister, you said, so anxious. Zhuo Yuchen said. I've been telling them for a long time, but it's useless. Grandpa's attitude is very firm. My parents also stand on Grandpa's side. They can't wait for me to marry him. Sister, you said. So exaggerated. What's the background of the other party to make the Zhuo family's old man so anxious? Zhuo Yuchen shook her head and said, Grandpa didn't say. It's the Lin family. Some time ago, the Lin family's old man came over. After he finished speaking, Grandpa was very happy. Damn the Lin family. Lin family. Sister, you said. The Lin family has declined over the years. After old Master Lin retired more than 10 years ago, the Lin family has been going downhill. There aren't many outstanding people in the third generation. 1 or 2 of them are also married and have passed the age. I heard that Lin Shiqian was beaten up a while ago. Zhuo Yuchen was shocked and said, It can't be him, right? Lin Shiqian? Sister, you couldn't stay calm anymore. If it's really him, then. There was no need to say the next words. Everyone understood what kind of thing it was. The children of rich families were reduced to opening night clubs. Just this point alone, this person was basically a cripple. It was a stain that couldn't be washed away in his life. In the capital's Playboy circle, this person was also famous for being a good-for-nothing. Zhu Yuchen's face turned pale. She was beautiful and her heart was higher than the sky. If she married such a husband, she might as well die. Sister, you said. It can't be. Old Master Zhua has no reason to let you marry such a person. The Lin family can't afford such a price. Zhu Yuchen said. No, I won't marry. Chapter 296. Sister, you looked at Zhua Yuchen in front of her. She was about 1.7 meters tall and had a beautiful face that even she, a woman, couldn't help but stare at. She had a golden ratio figure, and even with her picky eyes, she couldn't find a single flaw. She was a perfect daughter. Unfortunately, since ancient times, many beauties had poor lives. Many women couldn't control their own fate, especially those born in wealthy families. Zhua Yuchen really made her envious because there was a powerful man behind her. A man so powerful that it made people's hearts tremble. Have you mentioned it to Lu Xuanji? Zhua Yuchen shook her head, and her cheeks flashed with the unique shyness of a young girl. I don't want him to know. I don't want to cause him trouble. He's already so busy. Sister, you said. You're really a silly girl. Don't you know what Lu Xuanji is thinking? Zhua Yuchen couldn't help blushing, and even her ears turned red. Her bright eyes avoided Sister Yu's meaningful gaze, and she said softly, How would I know? I'm not a roundworm in his stomach. Sister, you said. You don't have to tell him about other things, but you have to tell him about this matter. This is his bottom line. Lu Xuanji was the eldest young master of the imperial capital, even better than Jiang family's Jiang Ao. He was an outstanding figure of the third generation in the imperial capital. The Lu family was backed by the central government and had many connections. The main thing was that they had completed the replacement of the old with the new. This was the most powerful and most terrifying part of the Lu family. If there were no accidents, the Lu family could still prosper for another 20 years, and even have the tendency to go up. Zhua Yuchen and him were childhood sweethearts. Lu Xuanji was 4 years older than him, and was a big brother. Due to the age gap between the two, Zhua Yuchen admired him. When a girl had feelings of admiration for a boy, then the feelings were not far away. It was like many fans shouting to their idols, I want to give birth to monkeys with you. But they were not only one-sided. Zhua Yuchen's beauty also moved Lu Xuanji's heart. If it was a girl from an ordinary family, Lu Xuanji would not hesitate to take her for himself. But the Zhua family was also a big family in the imperial capital, and Zhua Yuchen was not a girl who could be played with casually. If the two had any relationship, it would cause a lot of trouble, just like Jiang Yi and Lin Yueling back then. However, the Lu and Zhua clans were not as hostile as the Jiang and Lin clans in the past. In fact, they were quite close. Therefore, the relationship between his children was quite close. Zhua Yuchen said, I don't dare to say. Sister, you. Are you afraid that he won't be happy? Zhua Yuchen nodded. Sister, you said. Then you don't have to worry, the matter has not been settled. The Lin family is on the decline. This time the Lin family wants to fight for the Jiangnan frontier. If not, the decline is already set. What kind of wisdom does old Master Zhua have? He will definitely see the situation clearly. However, you must tell Lu Xuanji about this so that he can be prepared. Zhua Yuchen nodded. Sister, you said. Let's talk about a little work. Xiao Yutong's contract is about to expire. I think I should fight for it. There aren't many A-list actresses in the entertainment industry. If there is a position, the company's reputation will be loud and her status will definitely be different. Zhua Yuchen said. She won't renew the contract with her old employer? Sister, you said. According to the news I received, because she and Bai Xian competed for the first sister, her resources were divided by more than half. She has a lot of opinions, and the possibility of renewing the contract is very low. Zhua Yuchen said. Then we must fight for it, but if we have our eyes on it, others will definitely not let it go. Sister, you said. Then it's based on sincerity, background, and resources. In the past 2 years, in addition to the real estate boom, the entertainment industry actually soared faster than real estate. The appearance fees of stars soared from tens of thousands to millions, or even tens of millions. We have prepared a plan. Do you want to have a meeting? The meeting was originally going to be held, but it was interrupted by the sudden news of her fiancé. You preside, I'm not in the mood. Zhuo Yuchen waited for Sister Yu to go out, then picked up her phone and called Lu Xuanyi. At this time, Jiang Xiu's private plane officially arrived in the capital. On this trip, the family of 3 had their own thoughts, and Cheng Lingsu looked at the stock market along the way. Jiang Yi said, minor repairs, does Gushu have any specific plans? Of course, he was blunt with his son. Jiang Xiu said, Gushu still wants to improve, and there are people in his family who are qualified enough to chase the position of the Jiangnan frontier. He did not hide anything from his father. Jiang Yi heard this and pondered for a while. From Gushu's point of view, of course, this is the request. However, although there is no written rule, the Gu family can't monopolize the Jiangnan frontier. Wouldn't it become the Gu family's word? Dao Yutai won't agree. Jiang Xiu said. Under normal circumstances it won't, but Jiangnan's situation is special. Jiangnan has suffered a great change, and now the most important thing is to quickly stabilize Jiangnan. It's the safest to use the Gu family's people. If they change people, there would definitely be new forces infiltrating, and the current balance would be broken. Jiang Yi nodded. That makes sense. After a pause, he looked at Lin Yueling, who was a little nervous, and said, Your mother told them that Gushu's side would not be effective, but she still insisted that we come back for the new year. What's her plan? Jiang Xiu smiled faintly. Wasn't it simple? The Lin family wanted to rope him in. For rich families, family conflicts were secondary. The most important thing was always benefits. Rich families magnified the indifference and ugliness of human nature in the face of benefits. In fact, this kind of thinking was common in ordinary families. Some parents despised their sons for being useless, and there were also sons who despised their parents for not doing enough. This was not rare. It could be said that it was normal. That was why the humanoid radiance was so rare. Jiang Yi, don't talk nonsense to my son. Lin Yueling suddenly flipped out. You just want to say that the Lin family saw that the minor repairs were successful and became Mr. Jiang, so they wanted to rope in the minor repairs. You just want to say that the Lin family is ugly. Jiang Yi did not expect to touch his wife's sore spot. He quickly explained. That's not what I meant. Lin Yueling said. Then what do you mean? Jiang Yi did not dare to say anything else. Although his wife had suffered for so many years and experienced so many hardships in the world, she was still very soft-hearted. Her heart was completely softened when the Lin family extended an olive branch, and she treated them as her mother's family. She could not bear to hear others speak ill of the Lin family. Jiang Xiu also looked down at his nose, and his nose looked down at his heart. Seeing the father and son like this, she was even angrier. In fact, she was very sad at the moment. She also hated the heartlessness of her family. She also wanted to harden her heart and completely part ways with the Lin family. However, from the day the olive branch was extended, she could not control herself. She did not want the Lin family to be so realistic and ugly. However, the truth was as Jiang Yi said, so she exploded. Cheng Lingsu was even more scared when she saw her parents-in-law quarrel. She shrank to the side, afraid that she would be implicated. However, compared to Jiang Xiu, she was much more doted on by her parents-in-law at home. This made her feel very warm. It was the first time she saw her parents-in-law quarrel. It was as if she had returned to her childhood, and was scared when she saw her parents quarrel. She sneaked a glance at Jiang Xiu. Even the big devil's face was a little pale. She could not help but want to laugh. There were also people who were scared. Should we go home first or? Jiang Yi did not dare to provoke Lin Yueling, so he quickly changed the topic. Go home. Jiang Xiu was halfway through his answer when Lin Yueling said, Go directly to the Lin family. He did not dare to speak. However, after a while, after Lin Yueling's anger had subsided, her gaze dimmed. She said, Let's go home first. We'll go later. Although it was a private jet, it was inevitable that they would be tired from the journey. They should go home to tidy up and rest, so that they could go home with better energy. Seeing that Lin Yueling was unhappy, Cheng Lingsu leaned over and said, Mom, Dad didn't mean it that way. He and Jiang Xiu are both worried about you. Our whole family is on your side. Lin Yueling patted Susu's face and said, I know you're the most obedient. I'm not angry at your dad. I'm angry at myself. Lin Yueling said, I know I shouldn't have any fantasies about them, but I can't help it. I always hope, Cheng Lingsu said. I know. Lin Yueling said, if the Lin family really goes too far, I won't give them face either. When she was chased out back then, did she not have any resentment? Of course she did. Not only did she have resentment, but it had also accumulated in her body for 20 years. She would not blindly give in to the Lin family. She wanted Jiang Xiu to help her second brother climb to the throne of the Jiangnan frontier. It was not really for the sake of the Lin family's glory. In reality, whether the Lin family was good or bad had nothing to do with her. You're tuning into the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.